casual baseball fan. A losing streak that began on opening day and reached 21. The season became a blooper reel. The Orioles have bid 88 good riddance, and this season, Baltimore and the phrase incredible turnaround have become synonymous. Mickey Tettleton's 17 home runs and great defense are two reasons the Orioles are not only in first place, but leading the American League East by 7 games. Having won 6 straight, the Orioles tonight come to Anaheim to face the California Angels and left-hander Jim Abbott, who has provided the most compelling individual story in baseball this season. The Orioles and the Angels tonight. Perfect weather in Anaheim, California, and a good crowd will be on hand eventually at Anaheim Stadium. Many of them still out on the freeways. It's rush hour out west, sun shining brightly, temperature in the 80s, and a good matchup tonight. The Baltimore Orioles and the California Angels beginning a 4-game series. I'm Al Michaels, and welcome to one of the more intriguing regular season matchups we have had in our 14 years of primetime coverage, because we feature the Baltimore Orioles, inarguably the greatest story in baseball this year in a team sense. Not only were they the laughing stock of baseball in 1988, they were the laughing stock of all of the preseason prognostications. Very few people even thought they would finish as high as 6th, and here they are on top by 7. And of course, we'll be taking a look at the lefty Jim Abbott tonight for the California Angels, who have been surprisingly successful themselves. A lot of things have been happening in the past several days. Yesterday, the huge trade between Oakland and New York. Ricky Henderson going back to Oakland. He'll be in the lineup. And, of course, with Luis Polonia, Eric Plunk, and Greg Cadaret going to New York, we'll discuss how that might affect each of the races in the American League's 2 divisions through the course of this one. Later on, we'll also hear from Ricky Henderson. The overriding story continues to be the Pete Rose situation. Rose, as you know, has publicly stated that he has never bet on baseball, has never bet on the Cincinnati Reds, and this morning in a Cincinnati courtroom for the first time, an official of Major League Baseball refuted that. And here was that situation in the words of Major League Baseball attorney Louis Hoynes, Jr.
There is evidence, substantial and heavily corroborated evidence, that Mr. Rose bet large sums of money on Major League Baseball games and on games of the Cincinnati Reds.
Rose's attorneys are seeking a temporary restraining order to block what would be a Monday hearing in Commissioner Bart Giamatti's office. The judge in Cincinnati, Norbert Nadel, recessed the hearing today, and he did not rule on any of the motions, and he will resume tomorrow and probably have a decision, I would think, at that particular point. So this is the ongoing story. Right now, we turn our attention, though, to what is at hand here at Anaheim Stadium in California, and we're going to take a look right now at the standings. First of all, in the American League East, as we begin play tonight, Baltimore is on top. New York, Toronto, and Boston in a virtual tie for second, each 7 back. Cleveland trailing by 7.5. Milwaukee 5th. And the Tigers are last, while in the Western Division, it's Oakland on top with Kansas City 2.5 games back, and the Angels begin the night 3.5 behind. Well, with Tim McCarver now, let's talk about the California Angels, but more specifically, let's talk about tonight's starting pitcher, Jim Abbott. And where in the world do you begin with Abbott with so many intriguing aspects here?
Well, I guess you start with the fact that he is the only pitcher in the 80s who came right from amateur ball to the big leagues. And what an inspiration he has been. He's done it with what a lot of people perceive as a handicap, but interestingly, he doesn't. It's been that, his left hand has been that way since birth. As I said, he was an inspiration, is an inspiration to his teammates, to the opposition, to all the people in America. But the California Angels didn't hire him to be inspiring. They hired him to get guys out. And I think more than anything else, as the season progresses, they're finding that Jim Abbott can get guys out. He's 6-4, a terrific ERA. and has been doing the job for the California Angels.
He has, and he has very much earned his spot in this rotation, and with a little bit of emphasis as well with a shutout over the Boston Red Sox earlier in May. Now, as far as the opposition is concerned, let's turn now to Jim Palmer, who keeps very busy, not only working with us, modeling for Jockey, and this year wearing a new hat as well as the play-by-play television announcer for the Baltimore Orioles. So you see the Birds quite often. How in the world are they in first place?
That's a difficult question. They've been playing extremely well. They have an outstanding defense. This is a team that lost 107 games last year. I guess they would be called, as you said, the laughing stock of baseball. But what do you do when you lose 107 games? You make a lot of trades. And Roland Heeman, I think, in modern-day general managers, nobody better. But the key, Al, is that they have a great defense. Their hitting has been more than adequate. You know, they're fourth in pitching. Last year, they gave the most runs ever. So what they've done is they have a great defense, which makes the pitching better. That obviously makes the offense better. And just when you think they're going to have to win 4-2, they go to Seattle. They win 9-5, 8-6, and 8-6. They come here with a 6-game winning streak.
Whatever it takes as they attempt to become the first team in this century to finish last one year and first the next. Brian Holton to the mound tonight for Baltimore. Jim Abbott for the Angels.
An ABC News brief. Now from Washington, Karen Stone.
Good evening. President Bush today proposed a national volunteer program aimed at making service central to American life. China has executed 7 more persons linked to pro-democracy unrest. That makes 27 executions reported in the past 2 days. A lawyer for Major League Baseball says there's substantial evidence that Pete Rose bet on his own team's games. And later on Nightline, Bowie Kuhn and Jimmy the Greek talk about sports gambling.
My father drove a Starship, so it's only natural I fly around in something space-age. My new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, totally redesigned for the future. Powered by fuel-injected V6, monitored by an onboard computer. I guess some things were just meant for the next generation. This is your father's Oldsmobile. Ready, Dad?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Steady as you go.
This is a new generation. Oh.
Get up to $2,100 cash back on any new Cutlass Supreme. See your Olds dealer today.
Hoffman, you started as a junior in the mailroom, and now we're making you a senior partner.
No problem.
That means giving up that piddly teenage sports car,
No problem.
disposing of that adolescent village loft,
No problem.
and absolutely, positively no more of those childish frosted flakes.
Give up life in the fast lane, but don't give up those crunchy sweet Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. The last great taste of youth.
How do you spot a MetLife representative? He's intelligent and knowledgeable, concerned and caring, friendly and ready to listen. A big nose and floppy ears are optional. Thank you. Get Met. It pays.
Chris McMahon and John Madden here for Latomania. Here we go.
Introducing the challenger, the mask, Marauder! And the champ, Jesse, the Body Ventura!
Okay, boys, you know the rules. No noogies. Any of this? Oh,
Now, Lady Ladia, brought to you by America's favorite light beer, Miller Lite.
who's going to win? The Masked Marauder?
Less silly.
Or Jesse?
Tastes great.
Get up and go before she sings.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
ABC's Thursday Night Baseball, brought to you by the new generation of Oldsmobile. Step into the future, now at your Oldsmobile dealer. By Miller Lite, sole sponsor of the match of the century, Light-O-Mania. By Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, the last great taste of youth. And by Olympic, these guys are smart.
So the California Angels take the field as these teams get set to begin a 4-game series. Angels playing in streaks of late. They had lost 7 straight. Then they won 3 in a row at Detroit over the weekend, only to come home and lose all 3 games in the just concluded series with Toronto. Jim Abbott getting ready to go to the mound. And here is the lineup tonight he'll be facing. For the Baltimore Orioles, Mike Devereaux will be leading off in center. Phil Bradley is in left field batting second, and then Cal Ripken, the veteran shortstop, hits third. Mickey Tettleton tied for the league lead in homers. In the cleanup spot, Randy Milligan is the first baseman. Bob Melvin, who came from the Giants in the Terry Kennedy deal, hit 6th. Joe Orsulak batting in the 7th spot in right field. The rookie Craig Worthington is the third baseman, and Bill Ripken, Cal's brother and Cal Sr.'s son, batting 9th. The Angels defensively have Chili Davis in left, Devon White, who made a fabulous catch last night in center, and Claudell Washington in right. The infield of Jack Howell at third, Dick Schofield at shortstop. Johnny Ray has been scratched because of a sore toe, so Ken Anderson makes his first major league start at second base. Wally Joyner is at first. Lance Parrish, signed after the 1988 season by the Angels, is back of the plate. And on the mound is Jim Abbott. A lot of people thought he would wind up in Double-A, maybe Triple-A when spring training commenced. I asked him if he was concerned about making the jump from amateur baseball right to the big leagues.
Well, I think, obviously my opinion will be a little biased, but I felt like I belonged here, you know. In spring training, I felt like I threw the ball well enough to earn a spot on the team, and I felt like I could get people out at this level. And even though I had a rough first couple outings, a lot of pitchers in the big leagues had a rough couple first outings, and I just think that's part of the game, and luckily things have gotten a little better.
So it's Abbott who not only makes the team in the spring, but goes right into a rotation that features Bert Blyleven, who's been pitching extremely well, Chuck Finley, who pitched very well up until very recently, as did Kirk McCaskill. And the starting rotation for the Angels is the primary reason why this club right now is very much in contention after not being in contention at all through 1987 and 1988. And the other man in the rotation who we've neglected to mention is Mike Witt. And Mike has been struggling, but pitched well in his last outing in Detroit.
And you have to also understand that with a set pitching staff like that, the guy that got moved back, shunted out of his turn early in the year, was Jim Abbott. So when they had a rain delay or a snow out like they did in Chicago, Abbott got moved back. I got a chance to do his first win, a 3-2 win right over these Orioles right here in Anaheim back in April.
So here we go in the twilight, and it's obviously a very tough time of day for the hitters as Mike Devereaux stands in the shade looking out at Abbott in the sunshine and the batter's backdrop in bright sunshine at about 5:14 in the afternoon. So Devereaux starts the game by taking a strike. Devereaux came up through the Dodger chain, played briefly with the Dodgers in '87 and in '88, and then this spring was dealt to Baltimore in the deal that sent Mike Morgan to Los Angeles. In there, and the count 0-2.
It's that cliche about helping both teams, but boy, that deal really helped both teams. Devereaux hitting the highest, hitting .306, the highest for a rookie in the American League, and Mike Morgan leading the National League in the earned run average.
And the 0-2 pitch hits him. So Abbott trying to waste one and instead comes inside, and it winds up hitting Devereaux. And so Mike, with good speed, goes to first base here in the first inning, and Phil Bradley will be the batter.
The third pitch, 2 fastballs inside, comes in with a slider, and Devereaux, trying to get out of the way, takes it on the foot and trots to first base. So Abbott, who's not afraid of pitching inside, either with his fastball or his breaking ball, gets a little bit of bad luck there, and Devereaux goes to first.
Phil Bradley, who came over in a deal, and I think you can use that as a clause following the name of just about all of the Orioles with the job Roland Heeman has done in restructuring this team. Bradley came over in a deal with Philadelphia in a transaction that sent Kent Howell, who the day before had come from the Dodgers to the Orioles in the Eddie Murray deal, to Philadelphia. So here's Bradley, who's been a good hitter through his career with Seattle and Philadelphia, who's played on nothing but losing ball clubs, all of a sudden in the spotlight and in first place. 2-0 the count.
One of the important players in the Oriole team because of his work ethics. The two guys that had jobs going into spring training were Bradley and Ripken. I talked to Tommy McCraw, the hitting instructor. He said, I'll tell you what, there isn't a better role model than Phil Bradley for the younger players to try to emulate.
Devereaux at first, and the 2-0 pitch is in there for a strike, and the count 2-1.
I think the thing with Phil, from what I've heard, is that he's taken the work ethic from his football days at the University of Missouri. Matter of fact, he rushed for more yardage than any back ever in the Big 8. And that work ethic he's applied to baseball. He doesn't necessarily have the football mentality, but as far as his work ethic is concerned, it's a football mentality.
Abbott checking Devereaux. More rushing yardage than any Big 8 quarterback.
Right. Over 6,000.
I could see the years of people like Johnny Rogers and Mike Rozier perking up when you said that.
Mike Rozier's ears.
Right. 3-1 the count. And Billy Sims and a few other guys who've come through the Big 8.
I met all those guys. They said they never missed Thursday night baseball.
Right. Haven't so far, all three of them.
Might put Gale Sayers into that category, too.
Yeah, you tend to think only of Oklahoma and Nebraska. You forget about the Kansases. And the next pitch is low for ball 4. So Bradley walks, and Abbott has started the game with a hit batsman and a walk, and the Orioles have an immediate threat, and Cal Ripken coming to the plate. In the Angel dugout, hand on knee, is Doug Rader. In his first year as the manager of the Angels, Tony Armas, and there's Darren Johnson, the hitting instructor, off to Doug's left. So Rader has taken over, and it's been a resurgent team, but as we mentioned, it's a team that right now is playing in streaks, and they've lost 10 out of their last 13.
In those 10 losses, only 16 runs, so you want to stay away from the big inning. One of Abbott's strengths, what I've seen, is control, and that's gotten him in trouble with the first two hitters.
Cal Ripken takes low, ball 1. So instead of trading Ripken, and there was some talk, well, maybe the Orioles would begin to restructure and rebuild and use Cal as the bait. They have rebuilt around him, so here he is, the last link to the glory days, still wedged into the middle of the order.
Well, he said he loves the organization, wanted to stay here, wanted to be part of the rebuilding, and I think that when you go back to last year, a lot of the guys that Roland Heeman traded were guys that did not want to be part of the rebuilding. Not that they couldn't play, not that they didn't have skills, just did not want to be part of a losing reputation. And the Orioles certainly were that last year.
Marcel Latchman making a brief visit to the mound to try to get Abbott settled down here early. Orioles with Devereaux at second, Bradley at first, and nobody out. And low for ball 2. 2-0 the count. Devereaux to hhis lead at second. Bradley the runner at first. And Abbott now behind 3-0 to Ripken, with Mickey Tettleton tied for the league lead in home runs on deck. There he is, the Babe of Baltimore, the new Babe. And Rader anxiously looks on. Last night, he watched his team tie a game in the 9th inning against Toronto and then lose in 14 as Ripken draws ball 4. So on a hit batsman and 2 walks, the Orioles have the bases loaded, nobody out, and Mickey Tettleton tied with Bo Jackson for the league lead at 17 home runs coming up.
Number 14, designated hitter, Mickey Tettleton.
Tettleton, a switch hitter, as a right-handed batter. He's hitting .250. And 4 of his 17 home runs have come from the right side. In there. To this point, Abbott doing the Orioles a big favor. It's a very difficult time of day to see.
As you look at the American League home run, you're right, Alan. That's the frustrating thing for Marcel Latchman and Doug Rader. They know the hitters are having trouble seeing the ball.
1-1.
Yesterday, Wally Joyner said, you know what, twilight game in Anaheim, you think Nolan Ryan's going to stroll through the stands, come down on the field, and go right to the mound. It's tough enough to hit Nolan when you can see him.
1-1 pitch is a broken bat bouncer to third. Howell comes home with it for the force and on to first, not in time. So Devereaux is forced at the plate. The bases remain loaded, and that's the first out of the inning, with Bradley pulling in at third, Ripken going down to second, and Tettleton aboard at first. Bases remain loaded, and Randy Milligan comes to the plate.
Even though the infield was in double play depth, you want your cornermen to always have the option to come home on a ball that's not a double play ball. That ball was not hit sharply. As a matter of fact, Tettleton broke his bat, and Parrish almost gets Mickey at first base. So an alert play by Jack Howell. It was tempting because he was only about a half a step from third base. Would have been tempting to step on third and go to first.
Milligan fouls it back. Now the Angel infield at double play depth and a ground ball, and Abbott has induced several of those, could get him out of the inning unscathed.
I think Jack Howell at third, saying what I said earlier about the 10 losses, only 16 runs, said, hey, we can't afford to give up any runs.
Right.
Breaking pitch inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. With the bases loaded, the Orioles have been cashing in with regularity. Abbott has been keeping the ball down for the most part this season. Of the outs, he's recorded 100 on grounders and only 58 in the air, which is a good ratio.
Well, again, he's not afraid to pitch inside. The ball that Tettleton broke his bat on, that Tim alluded to, was a good pitch, and he hasn't gotten away from his game plan.
2-2.
I think the one overriding theme with Jim Abbott is he feels he can pitch in the big leagues. Proved it in spring training, proved it throughout the first a little bit over a third of the year.
2-2 to Milligan. There's a ground ball to the right side. Joyner steps on first for the out. The throw home is not in time. There's no force there, even though Parrish appeared to think all he had to do was stand on home plate for the out. But in fact, once Joyner touches the bag at first, that removes the force, and Parrish would have had to make the tag to record the out. The Orioles get a run and lead it 1-0.
Lance may have been blocked off by the runner, Randy Milligan. Milligan running down the line, and he may not have seen Joyner step on first base. That appeared to be the case.
I don't think he could have had him anyway,
no,
even with a sweep tag.
It's interesting. Joyner with a similar decision that Jack Howell had.
Yeah.
First base was right there. He elected to step on first and come home too late.
Here's Bob Melvin now. It's a flash thought that has to go through Joyner's mind. If you pick it up and throw home, you get the force, you save a run. But you're right. It's so inviting to step on the bag and hope to get the double play.
You've got a sure out 2 feet away.
Hit back through the middle, and Anderson can't come up with it. It's a base hit. 2 runs will score, and the Orioles lead it 3-0. So on the first hit of the inning, Melvin grounds it right back through the middle to make it 3-0 Baltimore.
Only Oriole without a home run. Some key runs he's driven in. Those are 2 more of them.
And here's a case now with Abbott transferring the glove and the ball coming right back through the middle.
If there is any handicap, it is probably once he delivers the ball. You can see he's just a little bit late. Something you really can't avoid. Can't get it from one hand to the other any quicker.
Orsolak at the plate looks at a strike, and the count is 0-1.
Of course, Jim, that's a reaction play for any pitcher.
Exactly,
right?
It is. And again, I think the fact that the Angels did not want to go for 2 early on, and that's normally what you do in the first inning. You try to stay away from a big inning, has cost them down the road.
Orsilac hits it high in the air to deep right field. Washington goes all the way back on the warning track and makes the catch. But in the inning, the Orioles pick up 3 runs, only 1 hit after a half. Orioles 3 and the Angels coming up.
I've made up my mind. I'm going to do it. Why shouldn't I? I'm the one who has to look at myself in the mirror every morning. So before I lose another hair, I'm going to the doctor. I know doctors have treatment programs that are proven to work. More guys are trying them every day. I'm not bad now, but I wouldn't mind looking better.
Your doctor can really do something about hair loss. So see your doctor or call this toll-free number.
I wasn't sure where to get my muffler fixed.
At Midas, we stock more mufflers than anyone.
Everyone promised low prices.
Midas prices take the sting out of muffler repair costs.
The difference was Midas.
Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
The fiber that's pound for pound, 5 times stronger than steel, and is in the protective vests worn by police. It makes up the unique belt of road handler treadlock radials at Sears. Tough tires you can trust.
Is not welcome in Anaheim Stadium.
Here's the Angel lineup tonight. Claudell Washington leads off in right field, and then because of the injury to Johnny Ray, a sore toe, that's why he's out of the lineup. Ken Anderson bats second. Devon White is the center fielder hitting third, and in the cleanup spot is Wally Joyner. Brian Downing, the all-time Angel leader in hits, is the designated hitter, with Chili Davis in his second year in Anaheim, coming over from the Giants as a free agent, batting 7th. Lance Parrish last year with the Phillies, before that with the Tigers, hit 7th. Jack Howell is the third baseman. And the shortstop batting 9th is Dick Schofield. It's a lineup that's had a very difficult time of late manufacturing runs. Only 1 last night in 14 innings, and down they went to Toronto. The outfield for Baltimore of Bradley, Devereaux, and Orsilac. Worthington, the rookie, at third. The Ripken brothers are the double play combination with Milligan at first. Bob Melvin is back of the plate. And Brian Holton comes back to Southern California, whence he came, because last year Holton wore the uniform of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was a long man, and a long man is normally an unsung man, but a lot of people will tell you that Brian Holton was very much responsible for the Dodgers' success last year. Through the course of the regular season, the job he turned in, as we say, an unsung role, was as good as it comes in that type of situation.
Oh, it's something that Tim talked about earlier. Tommy Lasorda, manager of the Dodgers, will tell you one of the reasons we won last year is because of Brian Holton. He set up Pena, set up Powell, and even Larosco on sometimes. And the reason they had to make the Devereaux trade is to get Mike Morgan to replace him. As it turned out, Morgan became a starter. But Holton came into the starting rotation for the Orioles on May 21st. Record 2-5 is not very good. Struggled his last time out against the Oakland A's. 5 innings pitched, 9 hits. But he can be tough. Fastball, curveball, and he's working on a split-finger fastball. Who isn't? A lot of trouble against lefties. 361 they're hitting against him this year.
Claudell Washington to lead off. Takes inside. I guess maybe on his tombstone someday for Claudell Washington, they'll put "Have bat, did travel."
7th major league team.
Yep. But he's been very consistent through the years. He's one of those guys that, well, everybody knows him if you follow baseball, but maybe you don't appreciate him until you start going down his numbers through the years. Takes a strike, and the count is 2-1. Wherever he's played, he's a guy you can count on to hit in the high 2s, maybe hit a little better than 300 for you. Fouls it away. Lifetime average of 280 at the start of the season, and right now hitting 287.
Yeah, almost came full circle. First year, or really full first season. And there are some significant stats right there. Can steal bases, but he hit 308 back in 1975, and then he did it in 88.
2-2 the count. And Holton misses high, ball 3.
Dallas Green and the Yankee hierarchy have said that they made a mistake in not signing Claudell Washington. Darren Johnson, the hitting coach for the Angels, talking about what an influence he's had other than with his bat.
To deep right field, but hooking and going foul.
Well, Holden does not throw very hard. Some nights he will hit 80 miles per hour on the radar gun. So not overpowering.
Which means he's not going to get inside to too many left-handed hitters.
Only if he can establish that outside corner. And he has not been able to do that this year as of yet. And that's why he's working on that split finger fastball. Needs another pitch.
3-2 to Washington. Hammered to center field. Devereaux backs up and makes the catch about 385 feet from the plate. So Washington twice gets good wood, but to no avail. Frank Robinson, who took over last year early in the season when the team was 0-6. He guided them to their next 15 losses as the streak reached 21. They lost 107 over the course of the season. And he's been the architect, along with Roland Heeman, of the turnaround in '89. Anderson takes outside, ball 1.
It's so strange. You lose 107. The guy that started managing last year is now your third base coach. You got an opportunity to lose 6 of those 107. That's Cal Ripken Sr.
One and one on Anderson. And there is Cal Ripken Sr. Fired last year, went home, relaxed, was asked to come back. I think the Orioles were wondering whether he would accept or not, and were very gratified when he decided to. Grounded to short, and Cal Jr. throws out Anderson. So 2 down here in the first inning, and that'll bring up Devon White.
Number 30.
Twilight game here in Anaheim, and some other scores this afternoon in the American League. The Yankees win, and Cataray, who comes to New York in the Henderson deal. Greg picks up the victory. Sean Hilligus, the loser. Don Mattingly hits 2 home runs. Yankees won at 10-7, and in 10 innings, Milwaukee knocks off Kansas City. Rob Deere hits his 17th home run, so Deere is now tied with Tettleton and Bo Jackson for the league lead at 17. White takes outside, ball 1. 1-0. Devon White, an emerging star, great speed, fine hitter, and last night made as good a catch as you'll ever see to rob Tony Fernandez of a home run. He went about 4 feet up in the air in deepest, darkest center field here in Anaheim and reached about 1.5 feet over the fence to bring it back.
He brought it back, is right. He didn't prevent it from going out. It was out.
Yeah, but you got to give a lot of credit to Bert Blyleven because he let him hit that ball high so he could do that. Let's not forget the pitcher. Blyleven, who pitched very well, along with Mike Flanagan. Been around as long as Bert, you know how to throw them. What art.
Popped up. Worthington and Ripken both there, and Worthington says he'll take care of it, and the rookie does, and the Angels go out 1-2-3. So at the end of 1, it remains Baltimore 3, California nothing. Back we come after this message and a word from our ABC station.
My father drove a Starship, so it's only natural I fly around in something space-age. My new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, totally redesigned for the future. Powered by fuel-injected V6, monitored by an onboard computer. I guess some things were just meant for the next generation. This is your father's Oldsmobile. Ready, Dad?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Steady as she goes.
Get up to $2,100 cash back on any new Cutlass Supreme. See your Olds dealer today.
This summer, hundreds of toddlers will drown by falling into backyard pools. John Stossel on how to prevent it from happening at your home on 2020 Friday.
You know, ball players learn superstitions early. Some guys rub their bats for luck.
Good guess.
Some guys always wear rally hats. Others pet the catcher's head. Me, I take my relief pitcher to Pizza Hut before every game.
Now buy a Pizza Hut pizza and get a relief pitcher for just $2.49. Then get free Pepsi fill-ups all summer with any dinner-sized pizza to go. Every pitcher sold helps support Little League of America.
With a great relief pitcher, maybe you don't need superstitions.
Pizza Hut.
A controversial way to kick the habit on HealthCast.
Baltimore against California. The Orioles on top by a score of 3-0, coming in with a 6-game winning streak. They won 3 out of 4 from Oakland, the final 3 in that series at Baltimore over the weekend, and then swept a 3-game series in Seattle. So here they are in first place by 7 games in the American League East, and the only team in the division over 500. In the second inning, the 8, 9, and 1 hitters, Craig Worthington, Bill Ripken, and Mike Devereaux. Worthington, the rookie third baseman, who was the International League's MVP last year, Jim, despite the not very impressive numbers. He must have done a lot of things that don't show up on the stat sheet.
Well, he only hit 244 with 16 home runs and 73 RBIs.
Comebacker, Abbott has trouble with it, and it's picked up by Howell, who still has time to get him for the out. Well, you're going to think after watching a couple of balls hit back through the middle that this has been a routine problem for Abbott, but it really hasn't. It just has shown up in spades in the first couple of innings tonight.
And also another thing, we talked about the bad visual aspect from the hitter. Think of the pitcher. He is throwing from the shade into a little bit of sun. Now, he may not see. You can see him flinch there. Talked about the handicap of having to transfer the glove. Heads-up play by Jack Howell, and Worthington, who does not run very well, they get the out. But it's tough to see the ball off the bat. 60 feet 6 inches. That's all you are, and you're a little bit closer when you release the ball.
Bill Ripken takes the ball, and the count 1-0.
And you might think that Abbott has never faced comebackers that hard, but remember, in college ball, they use aluminum bats. So a case can be made that it was even more dangerous when he was a pitcher for the University of Michigan.
Right. Just imagine on AstroTurf.
Yeah.
One out, base is empty. Ripken hitting .249. Slices it foul. Bill, a poor year. Well, all of the Orioles, basically, when you say poor year, you mean it individually and collectively last year. But as the Orioles have done collectively this year, Ripken has done it individually. The resurgent bat of Phil, and his average, while it might not be impressive to be hitting .249 for him, it's quite an improvement.
3 weeks ago, he was almost up at .280. So he's had a slide as you look at the Oriole bench. 6 rookies. Most amount of rookies they've had since 1977. And that was all the way back when Eddie Murray first came up.
And down he goes. Abbott running it down and in on him and picking up his first strikeout. 2 down.
Well, he gets the strikeout on a great slider after he's established the fastball away. Again, you don't see well. A good slider, kind of looks like a fastball, darts down and in at the last minute. Billy Ripken swings right over it.
So 2 down, bases empty, Baltimore ahead 3-0. And one of the 6 Oriole rookies, Mike Devereaux, at the plate. Craig Worthington, Devereaux, Steve Finley, the outfielder, the relief pitcher Greg Olson, the reliever Mickey Weston, and the starter Bob Malacky. The 6 rookies for the Orioles. That's a quarter of the roster.
And it seems when you look at this roster, if you look around, you see how just young Jim Abbott is. Tim talked about in the opening. Kevin Apier just called up by the Kansas City. Tom Gordon, who's 9-2.
Flash.
Oh, boy, does he have an arm. Great curveball, great fastball. So Jim Abbott, young in years and also experienced, even though he did pitch in the Olympics.
That's significant, too, the fact that I think Abbott pitched in the Olympic games. Had he been drafted in a non-Olympic year, chances are the Angels would have signed him last year and sent him right out to the minor leagues. But he had a chance to experience that in the Olympics and in the pre-Olympic tour, and then get a chance to jump right to the majors by going to spring training.
It seemed from the stuff he had and seeing him pitch in spring training, all the film clips, I didn't have a chance to see him personally. Fastball slider, Doug Rader said, you need another pitch. He said, hey, I got a curveball. I just haven't thrown it the last couple of years. So use that as his 3rd pitch. Come up also, what Marcel Latchman was telling you, Timmy, yesterday, working on a little bit of a changeup.
That circle change. Here you see Darren Johnson and Doug Rader.
(3-2) to Devereaux. Got him. Fooled him. So Abbott has set down 4 straight, has struck out 2. 3-0 Baltimore in the middle of the second.
If you're a business spending over $120 a month in long-distance services, and you think that you're saving 20 to 30% with another carrier, we want you to try AT&T Pro Watts. We'll waive the installation charges, waive the change charges, and if you're not satisfied and agree that we have the best value, price, and quality, at the end of 90 days, we'll pay to put you back on your other long-distance vendor.
Save 10 to 26% or more on AT&T long distance. Call now.
You know, ball players learn superstitions early. Some guys rub their bats for luck.
Good chase.
Some guys always wear rally hats. Others pet the catcher's head. Me, I take my relief pitcher to Pizza Hut before every game.
Now buy a Pizza Hut pizza and get a relief pitcher for just $2.49. Then get free Pepsi fill-ups all summer with any dinner-sized pizza to go. Every pitcher sold helps support Little League of America.
With a great relief pitcher, maybe you don't need superstitions.
Pizza Hut, making it great.
My father drove a Starship, so it's only natural I fly around in something space-age. My new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, totally redesigned for the future. Powered by fuel-injected V6, monitored by an onboard computer. I guess some things were just meant for the next generation. This is your father's Oldsmobile. Ready, Dad?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Steady as she goes.
Get up to $2,100 cash back on any new Cutlass Supreme. See your Olds dealer today.
Former champ Bobby Chess meets the man who took his crown. Current champ Charles Williams. It's Schlitz Malt Liquor Professional Boxing Sunday on ABC Sports.
Good matchup. That's Prince Charles Williams, and our dynamic duo of dapper Dan Dierdorf and Prince Alex Wallow will be on hand in Atlantic City to bring it to you Sunday. Williams and Chaz. Good matchup. Well, there's a cap telling us that the All-Star game is approaching, and the All-Star game will be held right here 2 weeks from Tuesday, as the All-Star game comes back to Anaheim for the first time since 1967, when Tony Perez won it on a 15th inning home run, and only one man for the National League that day had 2 hits. Who was that man? Who was that masked man?
Tim McCarp. It wasn't Wally Joyner.
No. Joyner takes a strike. Joyner was about, I guess, 2 years old at that time.
Yeah, right. Tom Seaver finished that game, and I never really realized how hard Tom threw until that day.
And in '67, I guess, what, you were on the disabled list at that point, Jim?
Oh, probably, yes.
Yeah.
I was taking 2 years in Elmira, Miami, Rochester.
Right.
Occasional visit to see the orthopedist in Baltimore, then back to Elmira. Lovely country, Elmira.
Discovering the ulnar nerve.
No, that was 74 I discovered that nerve.
On the subject of afflictions, every time I look at Wally Joyner, I think about the unfortunate timing, the staph infection that he developed during the middle of the 1986 championship series, as he hits one into the right field corner down the line. A fair ball bouncing off the fence, and Joyner, who's been hot, pulls in at second with a stand-up double. So the Angels have their first hit.
I've always contended that the most prolific area for hitting in the major leagues, a right-hander or a left-hander, is a ball down and in. You don't really have to have quick bat head speed. And Wally Joyner showed you right there, without that ball down and in, it hit right on the line. Tried to duck in the stands, but it did hit the top of the wall and bounce back in. So instead of a ground rule double, a normal double. That ball down and in, devastating the left-handed hitters in particular, and all hitters in general.
He said he hasn't been seeing that pitch. That's why he only has 1 home run. They're just pitching him away. Holton with a mistake there.
Brian Downing now takes low, ball 1. Downing is a full-time designated hitter. When he first came up with the White Sox, he was a catcher, and then, of course, he played the outfield for the Angels for many years. And then in the middle of the '87 season, or thereabouts, they turned him into a full-time DH. I miss him in the outfield. He used to play that wall like a linebacker.
That's why Freddie Lynn is just getting off the disabled list. All those collisions. I mean, one of the classic shots is Downing and Lynn both going for a ball in left center field here in Anaheim.
Brady Anderson of the Orioles opening day, right? Crashed into the wall in Baltimore.
Dave Finley. They all look alike. A lot of those left-handed outfielders. Finley dislocated his shoulder opening day. He was out for about 3 weeks. It'll be interesting to see the Angels struggling for runs. What Downing will try to do. Will he try to go the other way, hit the ball, and possibly get on, but move the runner over, or will he try to jack and hit a home run?
He goes to the right side, and it's backhanded by Ripken, who throws him out, so he's able to advance the runner as Joyner moves on to third. One gone here in the bottom of the second inning, and it will bring up Chili Davis.
You think that was by design?
Well, the reason I say that, last night they get the bases loaded in the 10th inning, 1-1, and they said if Downing comes up, they probably win the game. Devon White comes up, tries to hit a home run, and ends up striking out on after he had the count in his favor. So I think Downing, who's a very extremely aggressive hitter when he wants to be, but also a disciplined hitter, did try to go to the right side. Tried to add a run. Holton does not look like he's overpowering. I know you don't agree with the philosophy of doing that.
No, I don't. I think if you're going to make an out, obviously you do that.
Comebacker, and Holton running right at the runner, as you should, throws him out on the toss to Worthington. So Joyner gets caught off third, and Holton fielding the comebacker, and that's what you should do. You run right at the runner, and you try to make it a one-throw put out at third, and that's exactly what he does.
Well, sometimes your angle is bad. If you're the runner at third base, you know you're going in on a ground ball, anything to the middle infielders, and you realize if it gets by the pitcher, you can walk home. But really, as it turns out, a poor base running play by Wally Joyner. Trailing by 3 runs. You can't allow that to happen, but he did.
And then you try to get in a rundown, at least let the runner on first get the second. He wasn't able to do that either.
Lance Parrish at the plate, the longtime Tiger catcher, remember their 1984 World Championship team, and went to the Phillies for a couple of seasons. And picked up by the Angels at the end of the 1988 season. Takes a strike, and that precipitated Bob Boone's move to Kansas City. The Angels, in fact, they wanted to acquire Parrish, feeling that Boone, at his age, was not going to be able to catch every day. Bob thought he could catch every day, and elected to sign with Kansas City.
The Killer Bees, the bionic Bob Boone, huh?
Doing a great job over there. Moose Stubing, third base coach here in California, said it appears to him that Kansas City's ready to make a move. Brett's back. Bo Jackson tied for the lead with home run. Pitching staff pitching like they always do, which is extremely well.
Here's Moose, who was the interim manager last year at the end of the year. Moose holds a rather dubious distinction. He was 0 for 5 in his very brief major league career here in the 60s. And then as a manager last year, he was 0-8, succeeding Cookie Rojas. Well, there were 2 O's in Moose, so I suppose it's appropriate. Backhanded by Ripken, who throws to his brother, but too late. So Parrish with an infield single as Chili Davis advances to second. And it keeps the inning alive for Jack Howell.
Number 16. Third baseman, Jack Howell.
Howell was really struggling. He's come alive a bit in the last couple of weeks to get his average up to 219, and that tells you just how much he must have been struggling if you get hot and you only get to the 219 mark.
At the end of April, he was just a little over 115. He was a guy with 16 home runs last year. Tendency to strike out a lot, 130 Ks last year.
You compare the swing, for instance, of Wally Joyner and Jack Howell. Joyner with that very flexible swing, and Howell with that stiff back leg. He really doesn't have flexibility in his swing. And if you don't have flexibility, you don't have adaptability.
That's why he's just pretty much a dead low ball hitter.
1-1 on him. 2 on, 2 out of the bottom of the second inning. Baltimore ahead 3-0. Howell, the successor to Doug DeSensei as the Angel third baseman. A completely revamped team from 1986 when the Angels last won the division, and then came within one fateful strike of going to the World Series. Never got there. Thanks to Dave Henderson, and subsequent to that, Oil Can Boyd and Roger Clemens in Boston.
What an amazing game that was. 2 strikes on Henderson. Got your #1 stopper, Donnie Moore, on the mound. Threw 2 fastballs by him, comes back with a hanging forkball, and all of a sudden, no longer leading. They did come back to tie it up and eventually lost. And they lost the following 2 games. Ooh.
1-2 pitch is grounded foul. I think it's hard to say that there was a residual effect to that game, but the team was revamped. But still, I mean, they went in the tank in 87, 12 games under, and last year, and in a way, they're just starting to emerge from that disaster of a playoff series.
Well, you go back the next inning, they bring in Steve Crawford with the bases loaded. They got Doug DeSensei up, and Mock said, I would have bet the ranch 2-0 bases loaded, tie ball game, that he would have got the run in. Swung at a ball about 8 inches inside, popped up. Rich made it out. They eventually lost
in 11. 2-2.
There's that pitch you talked about earlier. Colton's not going to come inside. About the only time he will pitch on the inside portion of the plate with his fastball is when he's ahead. 1 and 2 there. He just missed. Whereas Howell, the type of guy that can get this team back in the game with one swing. Home run mentality. That's why he has all the strikeouts.
2-2 to Howell. Got him. Off speed. Foul tipped into the glove of Melvin. Angels squander a threat. We'll go to the third. 3-0 Orioles.
You don't have to be a professional athlete to know the importance of including whole grains in your diet. But of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So only Wheaties has the whole grain nutrition you want, no matter what field you're in. Just ask Oral Hershiser. Better get your whole grain.
Better eat your Wheaties.
Don't win nothing for practice. Don't win nothing if you don't.
All right, let's have
After a long day of hard knocks,
That's right.
head for the beer that goes down smooth as a mountain stream.
Boy, here, this one don't buck so hard.
Head for the mountains of Bush beer.
The 1990 Geo Prism is filled with things like storage pockets, console trays, even a special cup holder. Yet there's still plenty of room left over for your important things. Geo! And here's a special Geo Prism offer. 2.9% GMAC financing or $400 cash back. Plus, if Geo's your first new car, you can get $600 toward your down payment with GMAC financing at select Chevrolet dealers now.
Third inning at Anaheim Stadium. The Baltimore Orioles trying to extend their winning streak to 7 as they come in here to begin a 4-game series with the Angels, who had been hot but are reeling now and trying to stay very much in contention in the American League West. It's that kind of a day in Southern California. Beautiful day. Temperature in the mid-80s. Twilight period. Good crowd. And some of the crowd's still coming in.
Late arriving, I guess we call it.
Well, they moved this game for us for national television to a 5:10 start, right in the middle of rush hour. So much of the crowd will be fashionably late tonight, as they say. Yankees win it 10-7 over the White Sox. Milwaukee knocks off Kansas City 3-2. Texas has the lead at Fenway in the 4th inning, 1-0. Cleveland leads the Twins 4-1 in the 4th. And Ricky Henderson is in the lineup for the A's tonight. In fact, he grounded out in the 1st inning. 1-0 Toronto there. Philadelphia routs St. Louis 11-2 at the Vet today. Cubs and Pirates are underway with no score, and the Reds lead Atlanta 3-0 in the 4th inning. Here it's 3-0 Baltimore, with Phil Bradley to lead things off in the 3rd. Bradley and then Ripken and Tettleton. One and oh the count.
Well, it's interesting when you talk to the Orioles, they say that they see this series as a test. Here they come in with a 6-game winning streak. Angels are struggling. Yet because of the California pitching staff, and they've seen them already, this will be their last trip to California, they figure, hey, here we are in first place. We still have to prove we belong there. And the way to do it, of course, is to get some runs and beat this team. It hasn't been easy. A lot of teams haven't been able to do it until the last couple of weeks.
Comebacker. Abbott fields it and makes the transfer and throws him out. Transferring that glove and taking care of Bradley. It's funny. I mean, we look at somebody like a Jim Abbott, and there is Bert Blyleven, and everybody who hasn't seen him marvels at what he can accomplish, and yet to him it's totally second nature. He's been doing it since he was 8, 9 years old.
Said he never would have played baseball if he felt it was going to be a handicap. If he wanted to play, he just had to go out with the other kids and somehow learn how to involve himself just like they were being involved. Certainly been able to do it.
He faces Ripken. What a thrill for Abbott last weekend. He grew up in Michigan, in Flint, and followed the Tigers, and then to go back to Tiger Stadium as he did last Saturday, and not only pitch but win the game as well.
Paid to park.
Yeah, just like he used to do it.
Yep. Well, he should have. He left 58 passes.
I'm going to have to talk to him.
3-0. Of course, there's been a media circus that has surrounded Abbott, but he's used to it. Here's a guy who, in college, got a good deal of publicity. A lot of people followed him. He won the Sullivan Award as the country's outstanding amateur athlete, and then, of course, went on tour with the Olympic team and pitched in the gold medal victory. He loses Ripken here. It's the second time Cal has walked, and with one out, it will bring up Mickey Tettleton.
Parrish is out to talk to Abbott right now, and how do you correct something when Abbott appears to be flying open, Jim? You know, well, baseball players are trained, whether you're a catcher, outfielder, infielder, or a pitcher, to bring your glove to your right shoulder if you're a right-handed pitcher or a thrower, or to your left shoulder if you're and what it does is close the front side. Well, Abbott's never had the luxury of doing that because of his handicap.
First, Marcel Latchman, who's the pitching coach here, said he does it, his takeaway, in other words, taking the ball to swing his arm back, is as good as anybody's ever seen. But right now, he does look like he's out of sync. You know, the key is the shoulder more so than the hand or the arm, because obviously if you can tuck, it makes it easier. But looking at him right now, his right shoulder on our left is what he has to stay compact, and it's flying open, and he's losing his control.
And explain that a little further. What a pitcher with the right hand would do, he'd have the glove on the hand. Well, he would bring the glove to his left shoulder, and in that process would keep the front shoulder closed. But Jim, because of his handicap, is not able to do that. So you wonder how he corrects a habit of flying out of there too soon. And that's Marcel Latchman's problem. And Jim Abbott, of course.
Well, when I saw him in April, he hadn't pitched in 11 days, and he walked 3 guys, and they all came in the same inning. See him adjusting the ball. Good strike there.
And normally that would be a balk for most pitchers. You saw it, how he spins that ball in his left hand. Well, obviously he can't put it in his glove. But if a pitcher would normally do that, that would be considered a balk. Bobby Brown, the American League president, there it is right there. Bobby Brown didn't change that rule, but he adjusted it from a common sense and understanding. Talked to Marty Springstead, the head of the supervisor of the American League umpires this afternoon, and he explained to me that the rule wasn't changed, but it was adjusted from a common sense standpoint because of Abbott's handicap.
And rightfully.
Right.
First inning, You saw the breakdown there. 15 balls, 10 strikes. Abbott has thrown a lot of pitches in 2 1/3, and he's in trouble again here in the 3rd inning with Randy Milligan at the plate. Taking outside, ball 1. 3rd inning at Anaheim. Orioles scoring 3 in the 1st. A hit batsman, 2 walks, a ground out, and just 1 hit in the inning, producing the 3 runs. Abbott against Holton. In the air to right field to Claudell Washington. Ripken is tagging at second and on his way to third. And he's in there as the throw comes in to Anderson. So Ripken now at third. Tettleton remains at first, and with 2 down, Bob Melvin is the batter. Jim Abbott has given up just 1 hit in 2 2/3 innings, and that was the ground single right back through the middle, scoring 2 in the 1st. And Melvin standing in here.
One of the few bad pitches he's made, other than talking about walking people. Got a ball up, belt high out over the plate to Melvin, and Melvin, who's tried to cut down on his swing, normally hits around 240, if that, hitting a lot higher but with less power.
Into right field for a base hit. So he has the only 2 Oriole hits. Ripken scores, and as Washington drops the ball into third, goes Tettleton. So Melvin is 2 for 2 with 3 runs batted in, and the Orioles now lead at 4-0. Melvin picking up his 13th run batted in of the season.
Right fielder, Joe Orsley.
Yeah, Bob felt that he would have a good chance to be the starting catcher with the Giants, and then involved in the Terry Kennedy trade. And against left-handers, Tettleton DHs and Melvin catches. An excellent receiver. Good throwing arm.
Joe Orsolak fouls it back, and the count 0-1.
Freak thing here earlier. He said he doesn't know how to explain it. Reached up with his right hand for a pitch instead of with his glove. As you look at Willie Frazier out in the Angel bullpen and end up breaking his hand. Talking about Bob Melvin.
Grounded to short, fielded by Schofield on the run, and he throws him out. But the Orioles had their lead with 1 in the 3rd, and after 2.5, it's Baltimore 4, California nothing.
Olympic stain dealers are always learning. After all, they have to know a lot, like exactly which product's going to be right for your job, what goes into Olympic that makes it protect so well, and how to help you get great-looking results. In fact, once you learn how much these guys know about Olympic stain, you just might see them in a whole new light. So go see an Olympic dealer. These guys are smart.
I got dirty an awful lot when I was little. What am I doing here? You know this.
You're playing baseball.
Yeah, that's right. It came natural to get dirty. Johnson's baby shampoo has been great for my hair all through my life. It's strong. It makes my hair look clean. It makes my hair feel clean, and it's gentle. Look at this kid's hair. I think it looks good.
Johnson's baby shampoo, now also with conditioners for extra control.
I shower 4 or 5 times a day. It's never made me cry.
Johnson's, for the life of your hair.
Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball!
You got a thirst.
Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball!
You know what you need.
Give me the ball!
Fluids and minerals fast.
Give me the ball!
Energy for hard-working muscles. Nothing better. Give me some of that Gatorade.
WBC light heavyweight champ Dennis Andres takes on the undefeated and top-ranked contender Jeff Harding, plus the mini marathon on ABC's Wide World of Sports Saturday.
Another good fight, good boxing for you Saturday and Sunday as well here on ABC Sports. Andres against Harding. Here in Anaheim as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Dick Schofield to lead things off. And then Washington and Anderson to follow. Toronto meeting Oakland simultaneously with this one. Ricky Henderson is in the lineup, as we mentioned, for the Oakland A's, and is right now 0 for 2. in his return to the Bay Area. A's on top in the American League Western Division. Kansas City in second as play begins tonight, and the Angels third, 3.5 games back. Dick Schofield to lead off. Schofield, Washington, and Anderson 9-1 and 2, 4-0 in favor of the Orioles in the bottom of the third inning. And Schofield takes a strike. Schofield, great glove, but the Angels have expected more from him offensively, especially this much into his career, Jim.
Well, what we saw back in the 86-87 season, anytime you'd get a ball in the middle of the plate, hanging breaking ball, a 2-0 fastball, you'd see a home run swing. Don't see that this year. Did have some problems with a pulled chest muscle early in April. The guy that if you made a mistake would drive the ball. He's hit as many as 13 home runs. He struggled in June.
6 for 50 in June.
A lot of people feel that he's not very confident when he put a bat in his hand.
And very shortly to be 6 for 51. Billy Ripken puts it away. Talking about Ricky Henderson, our man Joe Morgan in Oakland tonight had a chance to talk to Ricky about his return to the A's.
Oh, it's feel great to being back to Oakland. You know, the number I'm gonna probably have to talk to a few of the guys and see can I get that old number back. But right now I'm just happy to be in Oakland.
You left New York. There are a lot of people upset back there. They didn't want you to leave. But are you happy to leave New York and come back to Oakland, or is it just part of the business?
It's really part of the business, but I'm happy to come back to Oakland. I probably, if it was any team that I had to leave New York, I wanted to come back home, so I'm back home.
Speaking of leaving the Yankees and coming west, the man at the plate did just that. Claudell Washington with a count 0-1. Takes inside, 1 ball and 1 strike on Claudell, who became a free agent and opted to sign with the Angels. Ripped to deep right field, as was the case in his first at-bat, almost the same spot. It's a long drive foul down the line, and he followed that one up by hitting one on a line to center field for an out in the first inning.
Well, a lot of luck involved, but also the one thing on Brian Holton, he is not throwing very hard. You really have to wait. You got to wait on his curveball. You even got to wait on his fastball.
And down he goes. Strikeout number 2 for Holton.
It appeared the ball that he hit foul, talking about Claudell, was that fork ball or split finger he's working on. And then he comes back with an excellent curveball, throws at 2 different speeds, slow and more slowly. See the big break, got him out in the National League, and it's doing it in the American League. And everybody seems to think, as you look from another angle, the American League more of a breaking ball league.
Kent Anderson waves at a breaking ball, 0-1. So there's Washington, who's 0 for 2 tonight. The Angels have been limited to 2 hits, a double by Joyner, a single by Parrish.
And Holton, who's 29, he started back in 1978 in Clinton, Iowa. He spent 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, all at Albuquerque.
8 years in the minor leagues. Right.
6 of them in Albuquerque. He said it's a lovely city, but you don't get a pension plan there.
But he knows it well.
Yes, he does. He said he started collecting Western art. He was there so long.
He can share some stories with Mickey Weston, I guess, who had a long minor league career and finally got called up.
8 years. He came in on Sunday, got a save, and then he gets a win 2 nights later. You probably saw him every spring with the Mets, Timmy.
He was never on the major league roster.
Maybe you didn't see him every spring.
I never saw him. As we speak, I haven't seen him. As a matter of fact.
Let me get his number here. 58 is Mickey Weston.
Okay. Got his first major league save the other night.
Popped up, and Billy Ripken is there to make the catch and retire the side. So the Angels are gone in order, and we'll go to the 4th inning at Anaheim. The score remains the Orioles 4 and the Angels nothing.
Welcome back to Lightomania.
Hard to believe we're winning.
You're still using it. Who is this guy? Oh, look out! Oh, this is it, gun! Wyatt, yes, it's Euchre. Gee, what a surprise. Hi, Dad. Wait, it's not over yet. Jesse is really L.C. Greenwood. What a makeup job. And I'm not Vince McMahon. Oh, here's Sonny Bono. Hi, everybody.
Well, Sonny, Taste Great has won, which proves Miller Lite is America's favorite light beer. Because when it's Miller Lite, less filling really tastes great.
I fooled everyone. Who is this guy? Now, listen, I got a story for everyone.
Listen to the heartbeat of America. Listen to the heartbeat of America. Oh, yeah.
The Chevy Beretta Sport Coupe. Designed to help you look better. Engineered to help you drive better. And priced to let you live better.
ABC's Thursday Night Baseball. Brought to you by the Heartbeat of America. Today, Chevrolet.
Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Thursday Night Baseball. Third of 8 presentations for you. And tonight out west where the Orioles and the Angels do battle. And when we looked at the prospective games on this particular night before the season started, this was a real long shot. But as it turns out, the Orioles the biggest surprise and the Angels surprising as well. And it's the game of the night. There it is. Abbott through 3 innings. And take a look at the total pitches. 55, 30 balls and 25 strikes. And that's one reason he's trailing 4-0.
That he is. 4 walks. Really hurting him.
4 walks and a hit batsman as well.
And you figure you want to try to get yourself in position to win. He's going to have to throw well, at least 100 pitches, maybe 120. He may not even be in the 7th inning. And then again, his team has not been scoring a lot of runs.
Craig Worthington grounded out in the 2nd inning. Two and 0 the count.
You asked earlier why he was the most valuable player at Rochester in the International League. 244, 16 home runs, 73 RBIs, but the second half of the season hit the ball the other way, hit most of his home runs, and here's a guy that is one of the outstanding third basemen in baseball. Very soft hand, good strong arm, not very quick. Well, not very fast, but does have the same type of quickness that Brooks Robinson had. Brooks wasn't going to win any sprints, but 2 steps in the dive, there weren't too many people quicker than Brooks.
A few on his pass list, I would think, tonight. Worthington growing up in this area, La Puente, and went to Cerritos College and wraps it foul outside third. 3-2.
Well, not to take anything away from his most valuable player award last year, but I think it shows the depletion and the drying up of the minor leagues, too, and how the major leagues is becoming a training ground. If you had 244 and 16 home runs and you're the most valuable player in a AAA league, I mean, the pickings are slim. Let's face it, you're talking about expansion. Where are you going to get the players?
Well,
I know it's a popular theme and a popular theory now, but with expansion just 3 years away, that's an indication of the minor leagues and the problems that major league clubs are having with their minor league farm systems.
Hit sharply to short, scooped up by Schofield, who retires him. I think one other thing, too, Tim, it's hard to have a fabulous season in AAA because you'll be called up.
Exactly.
You know, right. If you're hitting the 350 on June 1st, you're up.
Which is another indication of how the major leagues has become a training ground and why fundamental baseball is not played like it was, say, 10 years ago. When the minor leagues, when a guy could go down to the minor leagues and stay there for the whole year. And 3 or 4 years, have his training, and then come up to the big leagues and know how to play the game. That's not the case necessarily anymore. There are exceptions, but necessarily that's not the case.
Yeah, 28 home runs, the most at AAA last year, and that was in Colorado Springs where the ball flies.
And only about, 4 guys in the minor leagues drove in over 100 runs.
Right.
Of course, shorter seasons down there, but nonetheless an indication of the lack of talent.
Well, that's why I think everybody's giving Frank Robinson, who's managing the Orioles, a lot of credit. He's more patient. He's mellowed. He's become more instructive. But if you look at Frank, you got to look to his right. You look at Al Jackson. Where did he come from? The Mets farm system.
Minor league system.
Exactly.
Right.
If you look at his hitting instructor, Tommy McCraw, where did he come from? The Mets farm system. So what Frank did is he got Johnny Oates was the AAA manager. Those two guys, McCraw and Jackson, to instruct. We got young players that are willing to listen. And we asked Scott last week what the minimum salary is. It's $68,000. So you got a lot of guys here, at least 6 of them probably making 68. There is a cost of living and fluctuation in there. The average salary in the major leagues over $500,000. They better listen.
Down goes Ripken.
There's Tommy McCraw.
You know, look at the Angels. You talk about the minor leagues and how different they are now. These Angels took their name from the minor league old Los Angeles Angels, who were here before the Dodgers came west and before the Angels were granted their expansion franchise. And the big hero here in the 50s was a guy by the name of Steve Bilko, who was sort of the Babe Ruth of the minor leagues. I can't remember the exact total, but it seems to me he had something like 400 home runs, but you would never see that in the minor leagues now.
No. Well, of course, Brian Holton, somewhat of an exception, 6 years at Albuquerque. And again, the Dodgers didn't think he had good enough stuff to pitch in the big leagues until he got the opportunity. There's Mickey Weston, who you talked, 8 years. Well, there's a guy that
you think he's
Jimmy Reese.
Things?
Jimmy Reese, roomed with Babe Ruth.
In his 80s, still an Angel coach, still carries that fungo bat around. Yep. He has. Jimmy, I was kidding him before the game. I said, you know, Jimmy, you've seen everything except what the Orioles are trying to accomplish, and that is become the first team in this century to go from last place to first place. And Jimmy said, you're right. That's one thing I've never seen because it has not happened since the 1800s. And there it was. The Louisville Colonels are the last team. The American Association was a major league in the 1800s. Louisville was last in 89 and first in 1890. And that's driven to deep left field and gone. Mike Devereaux hits his 3rd home run of the season here in the 4th inning, and Baltimore now leads it by a score of 5-0.
A guy last year, talking about AAA, 340, 13 home runs, stole 33 bases, mired in the Dodgers minor league organization. He gets a chance, and he's been delivering all year long. Talk about athletes. This guy high jumped 6'10" in high school, ran a 10.5 100-yard dash.
So Devereaux makes it 5-0 with 2 out. Phil Bradley is the batter. The Orioles, here they are almost 100 years later, trying to follow in the footsteps of the old Louisville Colonels, a team whose star was a guy by the name of, are you ready for this?
Give it to me.
Chicken Wolf. Chicken Wolf hit 363 in 1890. To Schofield. And that's that in the 4th. That's that for us as well, I think. The end of 3.5. 5-0 Baltimore. We'll be back, I think.
This tumble crew has a plan, and they begin by digging into those scoops in every Kellogg's pack. We'll keep them coming back to those 2 scoops of plump juicy raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Hooked up and in command, they're working now, but they're thinking how they love 2 scoops and lots of wholesome bran. 2 scoops, they're turning back again for 2 scoops of plump juicy raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. 2 scoops.
This is Geo, the highest mileage car in the country. And this is Geo, 16-valve kick in an import-style sedan. And this is where you get Geo. Any more questions? Geo. And here's a special Geo Prism offer. 2.9% GMAC financing or $400 cash back. Plus, if Geo's your first new car, you can get $600 toward your down payment with GMAC financing at select Chevrolet dealers now.
I'm State Farm Agent Jim Cornwell. When I first insured John and Susan Rager, I told them my job was just beginning. Now there's a new car in the family, a new home, and a new Rager, John Lawton. We just got together for a family insurance checkup. That's State Farm's way of helping you keep up with all your changing insurance needs. Because if you're anything like the Ragers, things can change pretty fast.
And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Jim Abbott, it's been a struggle for him tonight. 5-0 as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. The Baltimore Orioles trying to make it 7 straight, and there he is being consoled by Marcel Latchman, who's done a wonderful job with his pitching staff. But it's one that has struggled of late, and that's why the Angels have lost 10 of 13.
I think it's a question of the Angels putting too much pressure on one department. When you depend only on your pitching and your offense can't generate any runs, eventually your pitching, because of the pressure generated, will falter also. And that seems to be one of the problems with the Angels right now and for the last 2 weeks, leading, however, the American League in earned run average coming into this game.
White, Joyner, and Downing in the bottom of the 4th inning. Devon White takes outside for a ball, 1-0.
Well, same thing happens with your offense. Doug Rader talks about, if you look at the numbers from Brian Holden, a lot of strikes. Again, not very overpowering, but talking about Devon White, said this is the guy that we need to be our catalyst. He has to get on. Johnny Ray, who we're not seeing tonight, apparently some leg problems. Another guy who's struggling, Chili Davis. But it's almost like if Devon White doesn't get on, they're not going to win. And he hasn't been getting on lately.
It's softly down to Milligan, who does it himself. White is out number 1. That's Claudell Washington on the left and Johnny Ray on the right. Now, Ray was initially in the lineup tonight, the everyday second baseman for the Angels. With a sore toe, we watched him try to run at about 4 o'clock, an hour before game time, and he couldn't do it. So Doug Rader had to go to Ken Anderson, and not only that, he had to revamp his entire lineup because Ray would normally hit in the 2nd spot and, in fact, had been penciled in 3rd tonight. And then with Anderson coming in, Rader had to make the switch. Joyner lifts it in the air to left field, curling into the corner. On the run is Bradley, sliding, but it's a fair ball and bouncing into the seats for a double.
Well, you talk
double for Joyner.
Excuse me, Al, you talk about using all parts of the field in which to hit. His first double down the right field line hit the line, and this one almost hits the left field line. A good piece of hitting by Joyner. Watch the effort by Bradley. It almost hit the left field line. So when you hear that expression, using all parts of the field in which to hit, the epitome of that shown by Wally Joyner in the 2 hits he's had tonight.
Brian Downing with 1 out. Joyner at second in the 4th inning. Takes low for a ball.
Well, it makes defensing very easy. The next time up, you play your right fielder right on the line, your left fielder right down on the left field line. And the only problem, the only dilemma is your center fielder. It's his turn. That's what they keep charts for, isn't it?
1-1.
Well, the Oriole defense has just been tremendous this year. 38 errors. The lowest in the, or make that 30 errors, the lowest in the American League.
And Minnesota last year, all-time record with 84. Of course, you don't know if that's really going to keep up, but the one thing they don't have to do in the outfield because of their speed is overplay guys. Where they do overplay people is in the infield.
I think the best indication of the Oriole pitching and their defense, the connection this year, only 9 unearned runs in 68 games. 9.
And to put that in perspective, the league average is about 30. There's a base hit for Downing. Joyner had to hold up and down by 5. You're not going to gamble on the bases anyway, so Wally pulls in at 3rd. The Angels have runners at 1st and 3rd with 1 out, and Chili Davis coming to the plate.
And those unearned runs, that's exactly what it says. The Orioles have made the teams that they are playing earn the runs that they score. I mean, there are 12 American League pitchers that have given up 9 or more unearned runs alone. Single pitchers. Andy Hawkins has given up 15 for the Yankees.
Chili Davis takes low. It's 2 things, really, when you look at the fielding average. It's the fact that they are not making errors, as you say, and not giving up the unearned runs. The one thing that doesn't show up as well is the fact they've been making the spectacular plays.
Almost every game is a highlight film. Diving plays by infielders, outfielders.
Davis chops it foul.
Chile, who's not having a good year, and I talked to Darren Johnson, the hitting instructor, said his bat has really slowed down this year. Last year coming off a year where he first year in the American League, and we talked about the fact that the American League seems to be more of a breaking ball league, and Chile Davis is an awfully good breaking ball hitter. Holton's a good breaking ball pitcher.
As a matter of fact, Chile told me yesterday that when he was traded from the Giants to the California Angels, actually signed as a free agent, he had played for Frank Robinson with the Giants.
That's grounded to the hole, and by Ripken for a base hit, scoring Joyner and sending Downing to third to make it 5-1.
And he got a fastball there, but Chile told me that Frank told him one time, and he said he'll never forget it. He said, if I'm ever managing against you, I will never give you a breaking ball to hit. And what does he hit right here? A fastball into right field. That proves your point about how good a breaking ball hitter he is. He is an outstanding off-speed hitter. The one thing, if you're Brian Holton, though, what do you rely on? You have to rely on the curveball. So regardless of whether a guy's an off-speed pitcher or hitter or not, you still got to go with your best pitch.
And hope that it's better than that guy's strength.
Right.
Now Parrish at the plate for the Oriole infield at double play depth. And Parrish hits it in the air to right field. Deep enough to score a run as Orsolak makes the catch. Downing tags and comes in to score, and it's 5-2. The Angels nibbling away here in the fourth inning. Parrish picks up his 26th RBI. 2 down now with Davis at first base. And Jack Howell will be the batter.
Yeah, I've always felt when they give you a 5-0 lead, especially when you have a good bullpen, it's sometimes tougher than pitching in a one-run ball game. You figure if you, before the 5th inning, give up some runs, the bullpen gets up, you're nervous, you get out of your game plan. It doesn't seem that Holton has done that this inning. The Angels just with some pretty good hitting. Joyner down the line, Downing reaching in and poking one, and then Chile Davis with the base hit. So he hasn't changed his approach. They're just hitting him this inning.
Grounded to the right side. Milligan has to get back to the bag as Ripken throws him out, and the Angels are done in the fourth. They pick up 2 on 3 hits into 4. It's 5-2 Baltimore. We'll be back in Anaheim after this message and news headlines from our ABC station.
You've just discovered your car has a clear coat finish, which your ordinary wax just ruined. New Simonized non-abrasive wax won't scratch today's clear coat finishes, and that'll save you a lot of grief.
The product. The vehicles. The testing grounds. The results. STP oil treatment is the edge.
Some guys make it look easy. They've got barbecue bag charcoal from Kingsford. Just light the bag for 1 barbecue's worth of premium Kingsford charcoal. Barbecue bag from Kingsford. What the pros use.
Good friends and good food, but my stomach aches. My party. And Mylanta, too.
Double strength Mylanta 2 with nearly double the acid neutralizing power of any leading regular strength brand.
Because my life takes Mylanta, too.
Die Hard, America's most trusted replacement battery. The one over 65 million have stepped up to. Now Sears introduces the most powerful Die Hard battery ever. New Die Hard, more power when you need it most.
I wasn't sure where to get my muffler fixed.
At Midas, we stock more mufflers than anyone.
Everyone promised low prices.
Midas prices take the sting out of muffler repair costs.
The difference was Midas.
Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
7 more pro-democracy executions in China, bringing the total now to 10.
And who really sank the Bismarck? We'll have details on both stories on Nightcast.
Well, here we are, third week in June. Summer is upon us. The Orioles have a 7-game lead. I guess it's time to start taking them real seriously at this point. I mean, the American League East is a grab bag.
Oh, that it is, and I think Frank Robinson talked about early on, nobody did take them seriously, so he thought that was a tremendous edge when they went around the league first time. This is the second time around, and people, because of that great defense, are taking them seriously.
And it seems like the Orioles are making every effort, and Frank Robinson's crew making every effort to keep the other teams from becoming too excited. I mean, they're playing down everything, and they well should. The Toronto Blue Jays very hot now. They just came in to sweep the Angels 3 in a row.
22-12 under Cito Gaston. So the new managerial change, they've changed the direction they were going.
I think that's the team to watch right now.
Yep.
Willie Frazier comes in, so Abbott is done for the night. Jim struggled all the way through his 4 innings of work. Trouble with his control. Orioles lead it by a score of 5-2, and Doug Rader goes to the bullpen and brings in Willie Frazier to face Cal Ripken here in the 5th inning. 1-0. Well, of course, every time Ripken is in the lineup, he adds to his total, and there they are, the most consecutive games all-time leaders. Lou Gehrig, 21-30, seemingly out of sight. And Ripken 4th at 1,157, and if Cal can stay healthy and stay in the lineup sometime in June of 1995, 6 years from now, he'd be there.
Tallest regular shortstop in history. I mean, he is a big man.
Howell ranges far to his left to throw him out. Howell a good 50 feet off the line.
I think even more remarkable with Ripken is his innings played. 11,556, and of those 11,556, he's missed 18 innings in a period of time spanning 7 years. 18 of 11,556 innings. That's an update.
Well, he played every inning for 4 consecutive seasons as Tettleton takes a strike. If you're wondering about Gehrig, only one time, only in one season did Gehrig play every inning. Fouled away. You know, the funny thing is, as we were growing up, and we're all about the same age in this booth, but there were records that would never be broken. The Babe Ruth home run mark, and then all of a sudden here came Hank Aaron, and nobody would ever get more hits than Ty Cobb until Rose came along. And then the Gehrig mark, that just seemed completely and totally out of reach. And maybe it is, but who knows at this point?
Oh, with sports medicine the way it is, and the fact that you have a guy, and the amazing thing about Ripken is most of the time when you get a long-term contract and you have a guaranteed contract of a couple of $1 million per year, you might sit out a game. Cal says, hey, I can rest at night. I don't need to rest.
That's what Novembers are for.
Exactly.
Nettleton swings and misses, and Frazier comes out of the pen to record his first strikeout. 2 down, and Milligan the batter. I was asking Cal Sr. before the game. I said, what about junior in Little League or high school? And was he ever hurt? Never. Never.
Excellent all-around athlete as you look at his dad, Cal Ripken Sr., who was a great soccer player, came up, been with the Orioles over 32 years. As we said, managed last year. He's really been at all different levels. Instructional league, managed at AAA, AA, A-ball. Good slider from Willie Frazier. And Cal, good, talking about junior. I mean, 2-hand dunks over his head, all-state soccer player, which helps him a lot being so large at shortstop.
0-2 the count. Cal Sr. managing this team.
Talk about
87
feisty.
and again at the beginning of last year.
He got some feisty eyes.
Oh, doesn't he? Yes, he does. Sat around most of last year after being fired.
Milligan takes ball strike 3, and so Frazier has a 1-2-3 inning out of the pen in relief of Abbott. To the bottom of the 5th, 5-2 Orioles.
Ghostbusters.
It's 5 years later.
Look who's here!
A lot of things have changed.
I thought I was gonna be He-Man.
Ungrateful little yuppie larva.
But when the slime starts to rise...
The Titanic just arrived.
And ghosts start arriving by the boatload.
Who are you gonna call?
Suck in the guts, guys. We're the Ghostbusters.
It's slime time.
2 in the box. Ready to go. We be fast and they be slow.
Bill Murray.
I need to feel loved. I need to be desired.
Dan Aykroyd.
Slime! It's a river of slime!
Sigourney Weaver.
Don't put any of those old cheap moves on me.
I have all new cheap moves. Harold Ramis.
Yo!
Rick Moranis. Annie Potts.
Typical.
And Ernie Hudson. In an Ivan Reitman film, Ghostbusters 2.
You're scaring me. Stop it.
Rated PG. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with Son of a Gun from STP. Shoot the dash, seats, tires, and roof. Son of a Gun protected. Man, what a difference.
A legend has been created. A better battery for the future. Better with more reserve power. Better with a warranty that lasts over 6 years. Better with savings of at least $16, including a $10 rebate. The legend from Napa. A better battery.
Listen to the heartbeat of America.
Listen to the heartbeat, heartbeat of America.
Chevy S10 Blazer, another Chevy sales leader Ford can't match, with the most powerful V6 engine available in its class and the most fun available in any class.
To the heartbeat of America. Chevrolet.
Today's Chevrolet.
Heading to the bottom of the 5th inning at Anaheim Stadium, the Big A. Home of the Angels of this ballpark since 1966. To the north we go next week, up north to San Francisco, Candlestick Park, the scene of our primary game. The Cubs against the Giants on Thursday Night Baseball. Some of you will see the Astros meeting the Expos in Montreal, 8 Eastern time next Thursday. So the 2 division leaders in the National League meeting at Candlestick next Thursday.
Just up the road from where he used to live in Menlo Park.
Yeah, looking forward to going back and looking at the Giants, who certainly helped themselves over the weekend by acquiring Steve Bedrosian, stopper from the Philadelphia Phillies. And he's saved 2 games already. Schofield leads off the bottom of the 5th with a high drive to left field. Back and all the way up is Bradley, who leaps and makes the catch. So a towering fly ball. Phil able to get back, time the little jump perfectly, and take a hit away from Schofield.
I think getting back to the wall was the key right here. He knows where the wall is, and a nice play by Phil Bradley. We mentioned it earlier, the 30 errors that the Orioles have made this year, the fewest in the American League, and often errors, the number of errors that a team makes doesn't denote range. But with the Orioles and the great catches they've been making, they have great range and great hands too. That's the one bad thing about fielding percentage. It doesn't tell you what kind of range a player has. The biggest criticism of a player with a good fielding percentage.
Fielding, it's a very difficult thing to measure through the numbers only. It really is.
Well, Bradley, another look at the catch. He probably plays deeper than any other regular Oriole outfielder. And Brady Anderson, who's usually in center field, plays very shallow.
And from that angle, you can see the ball is not going to go out, but hit the top of the fence. So Bradley taking probably a double away from Schofield. 2-1 on Claudell Washington. 1 out, bases empty. Ripped by Milligan to right field for a base hit. And Washington on his way to second, and the throw is offline. So Claudell with a hustle double in the 5th inning. He was telling me last night, hey man, these legs can still move. He proved it there.
Well, Joe Orsulak, just a slight bobble, and again, Claudell with the play in front of him. And knowing they've been struggling for runs, says, hey, I got good speed. I still have those legs you talked about, Al, and goes into second base.
Anderson is the batter, and they're going to give Orsulak an error for juggling the ball and enabling Washington to get to second. That's hit toward the gap, and in there for a base hit. Cut off by Devereaux to hold him to a single, but coming in to score is Washington. So the base hit by Ken Anderson. And the Angels slice the Oriole lead to 2. It's 5-3.
Well, they're dancing in the streets of Timmonsville, South Carolina. Homegrown product. Ken Anderson, whose brother Mike Anderson was a fine outfielder. As a matter of fact, he played for the Orioles at one time. A good play by Mike Devereaux, the center fielder.
If they are dancing in the streets with a run-scoring single, what's going to happen when he hits one into the gap for a triple?
Well, in Timmonsville, they might be dancing in the street. Not that big a place, you know. But it's Kent's first start at second base. Emergency start. He's got to be very happy.
The base hit and a 7th run batted in, and Devon White is the batter. I mean, you're talking about a bicentennial-like fireworks explosion if he ever hits a home run in Timmonsville.
When you don't get that many starts, you have a tendency to exaggerate, however.
Yes. High fly ball to center field deep, and it will stay in the park. Going back is Devereaux, and tagging is Anderson, and he's on his way to second, and the throw gets by Ripken.
That's worth another dance.
You bet. That's great base running.
Yes, sir.
High drive to center field, deep enough to advance the runner from first to second. Anderson gets back to tag up and moves himself into scoring position.
Devereaux taking for granted that the Orioles with a 2-run lead. Look at him, look at where the fence was. Positions himself well, but now it's too late to make the good throw. We've been talking about how well the Orioles outfield has been playing. This is not a particularly good throw, and good play by Devereaux.
Well, just as Bradley knew where the fence was, Devereaux didn't.
Right.
And allowed him not to circle the ball, but really catch it on his back foot. Could cost him a run. Joyner with 2 hits, up 2 times.
2 doubles, 1 to right, 1 to left, and Wally takes a strike. 0-1. Orioles 5. Angels 3. Joyner hitting in the cleanup spot, but has only 1 home run this season. Here's a man who had 34 in 87. And he said that was a fluke, and he might be right.
Well, you go back to 86. He hit 21, I believe, the first half of the season. Only 1 or 2 the second half. A lot of people felt he got tired. He did hurt his shoulder back in 86, 87, the year of the live ball. And last year hit very well. He hit 290. Actually 295.
Pulls it foul, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes.
But what you said earlier, Tim, is that he has not seen many balls on the inside part of the plate, either up or down. And therefore, he's just trying to hit for an average. And if you were in here in April and you saw him play, he was hitting in the hundreds and struggling, off balance. And here's a guy that they once, back in 86, said, hey, this is the second coming of Stan Musial from a standpoint of a nice, easy, smooth swing.
Anaheim Stadium was Wally World that year. Little squibber back to Holton, and 1 unassisted is the notation in your scorebook as we move to the 6th inning. Baltimore leads it by a score of 5-3. We'll return to Anaheim Stadium after this word from our ABC stations. Anaheim Stadium as we go to the 6th inning. The Orioles on top 5-3, and Bob Melvin to lead things off for Baltimore, then Joe Orsulak and Craig Worthington. Melvin is 2 for 2 tonight, and he has driven in 3 runs. Willie Frazier, in relief of Jim Abbott, starts him with a strike.
And Willie doing one of the most undervalued jobs, which is that of a long man who comes in with a team trailing, try to keep them close.
Broken back, grounder to short, and Schofield takes care of Melvin. 1 down. Well, when you finish last and dead last, as the Orioles did last year, you have to rethink what you want to do in spring training. And I asked Frank Robinson what he wanted to do in Miami this spring.
What I wanted to accomplish would be very positive, Al. Not think about last year, really, and not have the players think about it or even talk about it. What I wanted to do was concentrate on 1989 and go out and work very hard on fundamentals. We worked very hard as a team. We broke up into small groups where the pitchers talked about pitching, the hitters talked about hitting, the base runners talked about base running, the bunters talked about bunting and went out and worked on bunting. So we just kind of broke it down and went back to real basic, sound fundamental baseball.
Sounds simple, but it's worked its magic as Orsilac lines out to Anderson for the second out, and with 2 down, Craig Worthington.
One day at a time. That's been the philosophy. A couple of weeks ago, they lost 3 out of 4 to Milwaukee. They stole 9 out of 10 successful base running. And Frank, on an off day, had a workout. He said it's not punishment. We have to get back to basics. And they have. They played very well.
Worthington grounds it to Anderson, and Frazier has come out of the pen to set down 6 in a row without a ball leaving the infield. And at the end of 5.5, it remains Baltimore 5, California 3.
Host the Cubs, or Houston meets Montreal next week on ABC's Thursday Night Baseball.
We were talking about Mickey Weston before, in his extensive minor league career, called up the other day. He's already picked up a win and a save in his 2 appearances with the Orioles, and here he is trying to preserve it now for Brian Holton, who works 5 innings, allows 3 runs, and leaves with a 2-run lead. So Weston out of the bullpen for Baltimore. What about him, Jim?
Sinker and a darting slider. At least it was darting on Sunday when he saved the game against Oakland, and on Tuesday 4 innings up in Seattle. A very tough place to pitch. He was able to come on with the Orioles trailing, pitched very well, and picked up his first major league win. Keeps the ball down, and he's pitched a lot this week, and a lot of times that will aid a sinker baller, because what he wants to do is have you swing at the ball just a little bit out of the strike zone.
And there was only one person that knew he was going to be called up, right?
Well, you know, there was a story that came out that his mother on Friday night had this premonition. She couldn't sleep. She called him on Saturday and said, I think you're going to be called up. He got a phone call about an hour later, goes up to Baltimore, gets his first save. And here's a guy that started back in 1982 in Little Falls and became a six-year free agent in the Met organization. The Orioles signed him, and he was 8-2 at Rochester as a starter. Amazing story, amazing week for Mickey.
Bottom of the 6th inning, a strike to Brian Downing. Downing, Davis, and Parrish, 5, 6, and 7 in the Angel order.
Can you imagine how many phone calls Roland Heeman, the general manager, got from guys that thought they could pitch after losing 107 games? Everybody calling.
Everybody but Bo Belinsky, probably. Maybe even Bo. Downing hits it down to Ripken, and Cal throws him out for the first out here in the 6th inning, 1 down. I guess it's Flint, Michigan night here at the ballpark. That's Abbott's hometown. Jim starting for the Angels, and the birthplace of Mickey Weston, who now lives in Fenton, Michigan. Chili Davis grounded out and singled.
I observed also that you said Bo Belinsky. Now in the American League, they're just coming up with Bo, right? Bo Jackson is Bo now.
There's only one Bo now.
Yeah.
One hopper off Worthington's glove, and Davis is safe at first. So Chili is on, and the Angels will get the tying run to the plate in the person of Lance Parrish.
One of the advantage to a running threat like Chili certainly is, he still runs well, is that you do move the third baseman in to protect against a possible bunt. And because of that, I think Davis has a hit here. We'll see how it's going to be scored. I think it should be scored a hit. And is the 7th hit for the Angels. Or it has not been scored yet. It has been now.
1 out and 1 on, and that's Davis' 2nd hit of the game. So Chili is at first base. And Parrish at the plate. 5 runs, 3 hits, and 1 error for Baltimore. 3-8-0 for the Angels in the 6th inning. Parrish hits it off the hands into left field. Bradley was playing very deep. It's a base hit. Davis is at second base. And the Angels have 2 on with 1 out in the 6th inning, and Jack Howell coming to the plate.
Third baseman, Jack Howell.
Well, even though Parrish breaks his bat, Weston likes to be down in the strike zone. So what is a normal good pitch from a fastball pitcher, but not a good pitch from a sinker, ends up being a base hit. That same ball down and in is usually a foul ball, maybe a ground ball to the third baseman.
Jack Howell at the plate. Struck out and grounded out.
Here's that example, Tim, you were talking about. Weston's strength is the low fastball, the sinking fastball. Jack Howell, the low ball hitter. Now, Mickey can't really get away from that strength, or he's going to be in trouble. If he tries to pitch up, he's getting away from what he does best.
Right. What's the alternative? High sinkers? Catchers don't catch many of those.
No, they don't.
They end up sinking somewhere else.
Good fastball.
And that's a fastball. As you look at Doug Rader, that he throws with the seam, so he shows you 2 fastballs. Doug's saying, hey, we could use a hit here. He's probably looking at the scoreboard, seeing 9 hits. That's more than we've had in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 to Howell. Flew it by him. Big strikeout, the 2nd out of the inning. And it brings up Dick Schofield.
And that was a high fastball, Jim, but it didn't appear to be have the sinking motion.
Well, that's that 4-seamer. You throw it, and he just runs it away. You can see not only is it up in the strike zone, but running from left to right. And again, it's a ball. If he takes that pitch, Weston has to throw another pitch. Now, that's what we talked about all the time. What you try to do is get ahead, and most hitters are not as good as they have a conference. Frank Robinson going out to talk to Mickey Weston.
And with Mike Riley out there as well, apparently he's checking on his condition. It has nothing to do with strategy or pitching to Schofield, and that's why Riley's in the picture here.
Well, Weston used as a reliever in the minors, starting in the International League this year, where he was 8-2 with Rochester, has not probably pitched this much on not successive days, but 3 times in a matter of about 5 days.
Well, this is not a charged appearance to Robinson on the mound, and that's why Frank was there along with Riley. And Weston, of all things, he finally gets the call to the big leagues. He makes his debut. He picks up a save and a victory, and here he comes in with a chance for another save, and he's hurt.
It happened to Mark Usman, who had spent some time with Detroit.
And so the Orioles have to go to the pen here in the 6th inning with 2 on and 2 out. 5-3 Baltimore. Williamson coming in.
Thursday Night Baseball. Brought to you by the Heartbeat of America. Today, Chevrolet.
Mark Williamson comes in to pitch for Baltimore, and he'll get all the time he needs to warm up because of the injury to Weston. Weston leaving the game. The irony is here, you'll see pitchers leave games very often, but rarely after they've blown somebody away with a fastball for strike 3. That was his last pitch.
That's one of the biggest fear, I think, of any pitcher. You figure you're going to throw one pitch, and you're going to feel something pop. And we had a chance to see some footage, and take a look right here. Now, this is on the strikeout to Jack Howell. He reaches back and goes away from the sinker with a high fastball. And right there, you don't really see a whole lot, but he does grimace a little bit. I saw him in the locker room doing his arm exercises, and right here, he feels something that's not normal. Later on, he tried to throw a practice pitch, unable to do that, and Mark Williamson's come on. And right there, underneath the arm, rotator cuff on the top of your shoulder. Right there, the subscapularis, the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, and the teres minor, the 4 major tendons that come into the rotator cuff. You knew that, Al.
Oh, come on, would you? Formerly known as a sore arm, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So the irony here, too, is that they brought Weston up and sent Jose Bautista, who had been hurt, back down to the minors, not for rehabilitation either. Bautista had pitched on Saturday. In fact, was the winning pitcher and was shocked to be sent down.
Well, you know, it's interesting. A lot of times you say, well, why can a pitcher pitch every 5th day? Why can't he come back at the end of the year when you need him on a more regular basis and pitch with only 3 days rest or whatever? It's what you're used to. And Weston, probably last year, could pitch 3 times in 1 week. But as a starter this year at Rochester, had some problems tonight.
Well, if you're joining us late, the Orioles come into town with a 6-game winning streak. They picked up 3 runs on just 1 hit in the first inning as Jim Abbott had control trouble, hitting a man and walking 2, and it came back to hurt him. Baltimore added single runs in the 3rd and the 4th. Mike Devereaux hitting a home run in the 4th to make it 5-0. But the Angels have been chipping away, scoring twice in the 4th, once in the 5th. And then Brian Holton coming out of the game here in the 6th inning. Mickey Weston gave up 2 singles and retired 2 Angels and had to come out of the game. And now Mark Williamson has concluded his warm-up pitches, and he gets set to face Dick Schofield, who is the go-ahead run at the plate. Schofield is 0 for 2. Dick hitting .208. So Chili Davis is at second. And there's the tying run, Lance Parrish at first. 2 outs, 6th inning, 5-3 Orioles. First pitch to Schofield is high, ball 1. Williamson 4-2 with 6 saves.
Well, he's been on a roll. 4-0 with 2 saves in his last 15 appearances, but the Orioles only 3 complete games out of 68 games this year. They had a 9-5, 8-6, and 8-6 game their last 3 games, so the bullpen has been used. That's why Weston was brought up and Bautista sent out.
1-1. Doug Rader. His team had a great April, a scintillating May. They were 17 games over 500 on May 30th. But they've dropped 10 of the last 13.
You know what he said, it would turn it around, a couple of 2-out hits.
2-1 the count on Schofield.
Williamson, a sinker ball, slider, and we just saw the changeup type of pitcher. He came over with Terry Kennedy a couple of years ago, leading reliever in the Pacific Coast League.
Signed initially with San Diego, and Storm Davis going to San Diego. Didn't even complete a year, and Storm now a pitcher for the Oakland A's.
It's ripped to left field for a base hit. Davis will come in to score. Parrish is on his way to 3rd. Schofield winds up at 2nd with a double, and it's 5-4. The type of 2-out hit Doug Rader was fantasizing about.
I also talked about the fact that Schofield was not very confident. Nothing better than to have a good hitting count. 2-1, you can look for your pitch. Williamson got it up in the strike zone, and Schofield doubled.
I'll tell you, Chili Davis was watching the ball then, and when you watch the ball, you often break stride, and as a result, Davis almost missed 3rd base. He just got the inside part of the bag.
Meanwhile, they will walk Claudell Washington now with first base open and force the hand of Rader, because you've got Kent Anderson now hitting in the number 2 spot, normally occupied by Johnny Ray. Ray has a sore toe, and that's why he can't play tonight. Anderson is 1 for 3, and they'll take their chances with him as Washington gets the intentional pass. Here's Davis now. Watch him coming into 3rd and around 3rd.
Yeah, Chili had watched the ball, and sometimes that will cause you to break stride. He just catches the inside part of the bag.
And his run makes it 5-4. The bases are loaded, and Kent Anderson 1 for 3. Strike. You know, funny thing about the Angels, they have to let in a way, Anderson hit here.
Right.
Because they carry 11 pitchers, which means you have only 13 position players. One of them is hurt. Let's say Johnny Ray can't play. Now you're down to only 3 other guys.
Well, that's 2 more than most American League teams carry. A lot of American League teams, because of the DH, only carrying 9. National League teams with 10. I think later in the game, you probably see Ray hit and Hoffman go out and play second base. But this early, you probably hurt yourself a little bit defensively.
Yeah, your number 2 hitter's coming up against only the 6th inning, right?
And you're down by 1. Now time called as Melvin goes to the mound.
Well, the fans boo, but if you have any confusion, there's Frank Robinson given a 5-0 lead. Stayed with Holden about as long as he could. Running Weston, he got hurt. You go out to the mound and talk about it. Not a good time to cross up your catcher.
I'll tell you one thing, folks. The managers of the 2 teams tonight, when they were players, they were 2 of the fieriest competitors that's ever played the game with talent. Often guys have talent and they have competitive drive, but I don't know of too many guys more than Frank Robinson or Doug Rader who exuded that competitive fire.
One guy in the Hall of Fame, and Doug here won 5 Gold Gloves.
Right.
A couple of 3 times, over 20 home runs, 80 RBIs 4 times in a big ballpark down in Houston. So didn't have the ability that Frank had, but certainly had the intensity.
And manifested it, though, in a different way, because, I mean, Robinson, when he played, you knew by his countenance he was all business. But Rader was kind of, in a way, a goofy sort of guy outwardly, and I mean that endearingly, because, I mean, he's an extremely intelligent guy, and as you say, Tim, played the game the way it's supposed to be played. Hard. But he enjoyed a practical joke as much as anybody. 0-2 the count. Bases loaded, 2 out in the 6th inning. One and 2. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Kent Anderson. For Baltimore, 6th inning. Parrish is the tying run. Schofield at second. Washington at first. A ball and 2 strikes to count.
Rader exhorting and Frank hoping. I'll tell you one thing a relief pitcher will tell you, it's not how many innings you pitch, it's sometimes how many times you have to get up. And Williamson pitching on Tuesday night, been up a lot, does not seem to have command of the good breaking ball tonight. Plus he's a low ball pitcher throwing belt high fastballs. That's not a good formula.
2-2.
He gets in trouble, everything is up. And take another look, he is more throwing tonight than pitching. Again, you can see not good mechanics, did not drive through. Sometimes that means that your legs can be tired, you're warmed up a lot. If your arm's tired, you don't have what you call a good arm speed. That also leaves the ball up in the strike zone.
And the 2-2 pitch to Ken Anderson is hit foul again. Anderson, the 7th man to bat here in the 6th inning. The Angels at 1 point trail 5-0. And this is the type of victory, if the Angels can pull it off, it really gets you out of a tailspin, especially coming on the heels of a very tough loss last night in 14 innings. He's outside, and the runners will be going on the 3-2 pitch. Parrish at third. Schofield will be taking off from second. Likewise, Washington from first. The runners go, and the pitch is hit in the air to center field. It's an easy play for Devereaux, and the inning is over. So the Angels settle for 1 and lead 3. And on to the 7th we go. Baltimore leading 5-4. We'll be back after this message and news headlines from our ABC stations. Anaheim Stadium is the site as we go to the 7th inning. And we can tell you that tonight on Nightline, following your late local news, a look at sports gambling. And the guests include former baseball commissioner Bowie Kuhn. So that's the subject matter tonight, and an appropriate one at this time on Nightline, following your late local news, with Bill Ripken leading off in the 7th inning. And we mentioned it earlier in case you missed it. Baseball special investigators said today that he'd uncovered substantial evidence to show that Pete Rose had bet on games involving the Cincinnati Reds in a court hearing in Cincinnati before Judge Norbert Nadel. Rose's attorneys are seeking a temporary restraining order, which would block Monday's scheduled hearing with Commissioner Giamatti, as Ripken takes a strike and the count is 0-2. And the bottom line today was that the judge recessed the hearing until tomorrow morning without ruling on the motion. But the news again is that baseball special prosecutor, and it's the first time that a baseball official or anybody involved in the investigation directly had come out and said that he had been betting on games, as it's grounded to short, and Schofield throws out Ripken. And of course that is something that Rose in the past week has publicly denied.
For the first time.
Yep.
Center fielder, Mike Devereaux.
One away, and Mike Devereaux is the batter. Well, there's one thing about the Rose case right now. I mean, it's coming to a definitive conclusion here. And obviously...
That's good for baseball.
Well, obviously, those of us that know him and have been around him hope for the best. But at least from what we can tell at this particular point, things are not very bright.
As they said about Joe Jackson, say it ain't so, Pete, say it ain't so. I mean, it's so evident every time you walk into a locker room, the rule's right there on the board. And it's not something you can plead ignorance to.
Devereaux hits a grounder to short. And Mike is thrown out. Frazier has come out of the bullpen to do not only an effective job, but he's retired 8 straight, and he has not allowed a ball to be hit out of the infield.
Well, we've seen a number of relievers tonight, and I said how important it is to be a long man. You come in trailing, you do your job. As you look at really the demographics of how Phil Bradley's hit the ball, predominantly to right field, which is why he's such a high average hitter. Doesn't hit a lot of home runs. Did hit a lot of home runs one year at Seattle after going an entire season without any.
The demographics, he hits it to the affluent part of the ballpark, I suppose.
Now if Strawberry's playing out there.
Right.
It's very affluent if Darrell recovers from that broken toe.
Half swing, and that's a strike on the appeal from the first base umpire.
Well, a lot of people talk about Bradley. As you see, first base umpire Dale Scott saying he went too far. Everybody talks about Bradley's year last year in Philadelphia. He hit .305. That was third in the National League in the second half. He's always been a good second half hitter, an excellent left fielder, and ended up with a .262 average with that type of hitting right there. The ball low and away, he handles better than the mediocre stuff about letter high on the inside part of the plate. Darren Johnson, who used to be his batting instructor in Seattle, they're very close friends, told me something very unusual. He doesn't have a blind spot up and in, but he has a blind spot out over the plate and up.
Oh, that's why he strikes out over 100 times every year. He's done it every year he's played.
Well, you could see his approach to that low pitch there with that head on it. That'll tell you he's a low ball hitter, and that's one of the reasons he's hit the majority of the balls that he hits to the outfield the other way. 44 to right, 20 to left.
Also kind of unusual as we take a look at Cal Ripken there. The pickoff play on Bradley. Cal doesn't have a whole lot of blind spots, but talking about Bradley, he said, I take right-handers. I try to hit the breaking ball back up the middle, the other pitch to right field.
That's chopped toward third, charged by Howell, who throws on the run and throws out Ripken. No runs, one hit, one man left on. To the bottom of the seventh at Anaheim, it remains Baltimore 5, California 4.
Will you please join Joe Tripoli in the Anaheim State?
Gatorade's Thirst Quencher presents the 7th inning stretch. Gatorade is thirst aid for that deep down body thirst. This current keeper of the Green Monster collected a Major League leading 23 game-winning RBIs last season. Can you name him?
It's fueled the victories of Super Bowl champions and Sandlot superstars. It's as welcome on a hot cinder track as a cold sheet of ice. It is unsurpassed at supplying fluids, minerals, and energy. It goes beyond refreshment. It produces results. It's everywhere athletes compete. It's sports. It's Gatorade.
Gatorade is thirsty for that deep down body thirst.
Boston's Mike Greenwell handles the Green Monster and his bat with similar aplomb. He also finished in the top 5 in 10 offensive categories last year.
Here are some of the veterans you'll see at the ballpark this season. And some of our rookies. Now playing at a ballpark near you. Get up and go.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Former champ Bobby Chess meets the man who took his crown. Current champ Charles Williams. It's Schlitz Malt Liquor Professional Boxing Sunday on ABC Sports.
For those of us at ABC Sports, pleased to announce we've extended our television agreement with the United States Golf Association into the next decade, and that USGA series includes the U.S. Open, the U.S. Senior Open, and the U.S. Women's Open. And we're proud to present the most prestigious events in golf for several years to come. U.S. Open, of course, ending with another victory by Curtis Strange in Rochester on Sunday. In the bottom of the 7th inning, Devon White starts things with a base hit to center field.
Another pitch up, a change-up right in the middle of the plate. Now Devon White can do what Doug Rader likes to have him and be in a position to do, and that is to get on, steal bases already with 23 steals this year. Switch hitter, outstanding defensive player.
He's one of the few Angels with speed. This is a team that does not walk a lot or steal a lot, but there he is right up there with Cecil Espy and Ricky Henderson.
As a matter of fact, the Angels historically have been a team that doesn't run a lot since their inception back in 1961.
And it probably, you know, when you think about it, it goes back to their roots, because when they were an expansion franchise, they went for a lot of the older players in that first season, and hitting in the middle of the lineup were Bob Serve and Ted Kluszewski. Not exactly Brock and Henderson.
Well, think about it. When a Cowboy owns the club, you know, you're not used to running. You're used to riding.
One way to look at it.
Strange, but one way.
As we join you on horseback. 1-0 on Joyner. Al Jackson going to the phone, which means the bullpen. 1-1.
The Cowboy going to the winter meetings back in 1960. As you see Kevin Hickey warming up and actually trying to acquire the radio rights for broadcasting Dodger games, I believe. And he ends up leaving with a franchise.
And he has owned this team since the inception back in 1961.
What a lovable man he is, too. Gene Autry.
Well, that's why people who know him or have known him through the years were saddened by what happened in 1986, even though they might not have had a rooting interest for one club or the other. They just want to see Autry get to the World Series once, something the Angels have never accomplished. 3 times to the playoffs. And you talk about, they talk about the frustrations of the Cubs fans and the Red Sox fans. Well, what about the Angels fans? Here's a team that only needs 1 victory in 3 games in 82 against Milwaukee to go, and they don't get it. And then they need 1 strike in 86, and they don't get it. Joyner pops it foul back out of play.
And the Orioles playing a Jim Palmer-led, or the Angels playing a Jim Palmer-led Oriole team in '79.
I think Mike Flanagan with the Cy Young led him that year. Or if you're in South Florida, we'll have to give Earl some credit. Earl Weaver, the manager. The little guy was our leader back then.
That's what I was getting at.
Told us that every day.
He's gnashing his teeth right now that you said that. I hope you understand. That Palmer, I can just see Weaver now in Florida. Listen to that Palmer, I can't get back.
He took my job. I'm sure he's saying that.
Yeah.
He retired 5 years too early. Should still be pitching, making all the hitters in the American League happy.
I mean, can you see Weaver in the condo right now? Marianne, listen to these guys. Foul away. 1-2. Earl, he was a pearl. I mean, when Earl first left the Orioles, we brought him up into the booth and worked with him and had a lot of fun with Weaver for a couple of years. And he went back to managing. Rarely a dull moment around Mr. Weaver.
Just a quick throw from Williamson. And again, respect for Devon White's excellent speed. 23 steals. I don't know if he'll go with Joyner up. Like to have that hole. There he goes.
There he goes, and Joyner fouls it back.
I'm more apt to go with 2 strikes. One of the things that Earl told me once, I was pitching a game in New York against New York in Lauderdale, and I had Roy White at first base and Bobby Mercer up. And I kept, trying to get rid of the ball quickly. And Earl, after the inning, I went 2-0 on Mercer. Hit a rocket for a double play, as it turned out. But he said, you know what? They probably won't run till they get 2 strikes because. So you got to maybe get ahead of the hitter a little bit early. One of the few things that Earl ever told me that really sunk in. But it did work. With 2 strikes, he's apt to run, but not before that.
There he goes, and it's grounded to the right side, fielded by Milligan, shovels back to Williamson. And White advances to second. So Joyner is at least able to move him over, tying run in scoring position. And Brian Downing is the batter. According to the FCC, we're going to have to give Weaver some equal time here if we keep this up. What did you say? One of the few things that Earl ever taught me?
I think that's what I said.
Brian Downing, 1 for 3. One and 0 the count. Brian Downing talking about the way he used to play the outfield. Here's a guy in his first major league game, on the very first pitch, chased a foul pop and injured himself to the point he was on the disabled list for the next 2 months. And that's the way he's always played the game.
Made a lot of adjustments. A very aggressive catcher with the White Sox when he came up. See his career stats against Mark Williamson. But patient. Most of his home runs, and he had 25 last year, were solo shots. Just have a wide open stance. Now he's gone back to a closed stance. One of the first guys that I saw that did an extensive off-season weight training program. Wasn't able to do that because of a muscle pull last year, but still had an excellent year. Leading on base percentage for the Angels.
2-1.
He's got some company in that weight room this year, Lance Parrish. Downing last night tied the game against the Blue Jays with a 9th-inning home run to right field. And as an Angel, he has 200 home runs and only 4 to right field. Last night was not only his 200th, but his 4th to right field. I'm really surprised Baltimore's not shading him around a little bit more, even though they're probably pitching him away.
Well, it's interesting because Bradley's playing the pull Devereaux pretty much straight away, a step to the left side of second base, and Orsolak real deep in right field.
Hit toward the gap in left center field, and that's going to tie the game. White comes in to score on a double by Downing, and it's 5-5.
Usually your center fielder is the defensive player that moves your outfielders around, but since Devereaux's a rookie, you can understand that Frank Robinson would want to keep an eye on him. And as we said before that pitch, Devereaux straight away in center, and really, in our opinion, should have been shifted around toward left center.
Especially with your basic Hagen slider that Williamson served up there.
Yeah, I'm not too sure he catches that ball anyway, but at least his positioning would have been proper.
Chili Davis takes the ball, 1-0. So the Orioles, who overcame a 5-run deficit in Seattle a couple of nights ago, have just squandered a 5-run lead. 5-5 in the 7th. Downing at second and 1 out. And the 1-0 pitch to Chili Davis is fouled back. 1-1.
It goes back to lack of complete games. Only 3 in 68 games this year. So you'll wonder, if you look at Williamson, as you looked at Weston, who 3 times this week has had to pitch. The Orioles been winning, but is their pitching staff going to suffer because of all the times Frank Robinson's had to go to the bullpen? Not only tonight, but over the course of a season.
One and 2. And it's just missing.
You know, because the same things that we see up here, Frank Robinson with 586 home runs and almost 3,000 hit sees, and that is Williamson is struggling. There's Frank right there asking where that pitch was. Mike Riley saying just a little bit low. So he knows Williamson is not on the top of his game, but you can't use up your whole bullpen on one night.
Robinson came close to getting a complete game last night. He got 8 innings out of Jay Tibbs, but then Mark Thurman got lit up, and Olson had to come out of the bullpen to close it out in Seattle. Three-2 to Chili Davis. Got him. Two gone now in the 7th inning. Another look.
Clutch pitching is making clutch pitches at the right time. Look at this changeup. Long ball that just goes down and away. Full count. Davis had a home run swing on a palm ball that wasn't down and away earlier in the count, but Williamson, as he knows, he threw a hanging slider to Downing for the double. He doesn't have command of his fastball. Went to his 3rd pitch, but it worked there. He made a great pitch.
Lance Parrish comes up. Perfect night with 2 singles and a sacrifice fly. Downing, the go-ahead run at second base. 2 down in the 7th inning. A 5-5 tie. Away for a ball. 1-0 on Parrish.
Again, only the 7th inning. I think if this were the 9th inning, Frank Robinson, Doug Rader's counterpart, would probably put Parrish on in a tie game and bring in Kevin Hickey to face Jack Howell. But again, as you said, Jim, only the 7th inning, and you don't want to wear your bullpen out this early in the game with the work they've had in the past 2 weeks.
Good fastball, 1-1.
4-game series, as Al Michaels said early. And then an off day, and they play for Toronto for the first time. The ball a little bit out of the strike zone. Williamson threw it well. Parrish chased it. 1-1.
And it's 1-2. Downing, who tied the game with a double at second base. 2 down in the 7th.
And with 2 strikes on the hitter and 2 out, if you're the runner at second base, you can get that extra step or 2 toward third, especially when you don't run well like Downing. The minute that Parrish starts the swing of the bat, take off. 2 outs, 2 strikes, and that's what every third base coach alerts the second base runner to.
And down he goes. So he never started to swing the bat. And strikes out to end the 7th inning. But the Angels tie it after 7, 5-5.
Somewhere there's got to be a cure for athlete's foot.
Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cured my athlete's foot. It's got something the others don't. Miconazole. There's nothing more powerful.
Hey!
I'm giving away advice, not Micatin.
Say, what you got for my athlete's foot?
Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cures athlete's foot. There's even a deodorant Micatin.
Then I'll take the Micatin to go.
Step up to the cure. Step up to the mic. Micatin. Look for new economy-size powders.
I've made up my mind. I'm going to do it. Why shouldn't I? I'm the one who has to look at myself in the mirror every morning. So before I lose another hair, I'm going to the doctor. I know doctors have treatment programs that are proven to work. More guys are trying them every day. I'm not bad now, but I wouldn't mind looking better.
Your doctor can really do something about hair loss. So see your doctor, or call this toll-free number.
You don't have to be a professional athlete to know the importance of including whole grains in your diet. But of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So only Wheaties has the whole grain nutrition you want, no matter what field you're in. Just ask Oral Hershiser. Better get your whole grain.
Better eat your Wheaties.
A legend has been created. A better battery for the future. Better with more reserve power. Better with a warranty that lasts over 6 years. Better with savings of at least $16, including a $10 rebate. The legend from Napa. A better battery.
Hit the road, Jack, and if you don't like them, we'll buy them back.
Road Handler Treadlocks.
Test them for 1,000 miles. If you don't agree they're the toughest tires you've owned, Sears will buy them back.
Hit the road, Jack.
Road Handler Treadlocks at Sears. Tough tires you can trust.
What you say?
We go to the 8th inning. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver at Anaheim Stadium. Game tied 5-5. Mickey Tettleton will lead things off for Baltimore. Then Jim Traber is out on deck to hit for Milligan as Tettleton hits a one-hopper to Schofield. And down he goes. One pitch, one away. Great job out of the bullpen for Willie Frazier, who's now the pitcher of record. He's faced a total of 11 men and retired 10. And now Traber to pinch hit for Milligan against the right-hander.
Your attention, please.
Yeah, Frazier has started the last 2 years, 10-10 2 years ago, 12-13. Again, a lot of times what kind of stuff you have sometimes dictates what your role should be. It looks like sinker slider probably better suited for long relief or middle relief than as a starter where you need 3 pitches.
In the American League, too, a long man is much more important than in the National League, because if he were in the National League, he would have been pinch hit for him. No way he goes 3 2/3 in a tight ball game, or 3 1/3.
Yeah, the definition of a long man really is quite different in one league as opposed to the other ever since the onset of the DH.
Which is why you carry 9 pitchers, sometimes 10.
And in the Angels case, 11.
Right. Well, that's obviously a rarity, but usually more pitchers on your roster in the National Leagues than the American League because of the fact you can't have this luxury that Doug Rader has with Willie Frazier.
That's why it is such an aberration for the Angels, an American League team with 11 pitchers. Almost unheard of.
You might think it's rare, but they're one of 4 American League teams to carry 11 pitchers.
It's the in vogue thing.
Yeah.
You'd also probably look at the makeup of those clubs, and you'd say you probably don't have a lot of guys you pinch hit for. Either that or a lot of switch hitters. And Traber, who's somewhat shared the first base responsibilities with the Orioles, he started out about just a month ago at 180. He's hitting at 250. He's made a change. His hands moved up. And he's hit a lot better. Went back and looked at some films, how he hit when he first came up in 1986. And there you can see he's been hot. And it's all because he moved his hands up. Look at some films from 1986 with Tommy McCraw, the hitting instructor.
3-2 on Traber. 1 out, bases empty in the 8th inning. A 5-5 tie.
Quarterback at the University or Oklahoma State University. Rusty Hilger, who played there and played for the Raiders, said he was the worst bad body athlete he's ever seen. I guess that's a compliment.
In foul territory, Parrish will run out of room. Is that how the phrase winning ugly started? Three and 2 the count. To deep right field, and so Robinson sends Traber up off the bench, and he's given Baltimore the lead again. And you just saw those stats, the terrible April and May, and what he's done in June is bust out all over.
Busted that one.
Catcher, Bob Nolan.
Well, with that man coming out tomorrow, I guess Willie Frazier said what? Holy high fastball, right? The whack.
How do you spell that?
Holy high fastball?
For whack.
The whack?
Oh, for whack.
The whack.
The whack.
Kerpow. That was one of those kerpows right there.
Melvin grounds it foul, and the count is 0-1.
I guess in the comic strip, it would be a thwack or a kerpow, wouldn't it? He got all of that one, and you can see the reaction of Willie Frazier, who gave up 33 home runs last year, and that's one of the reasons he's in the long man role this year.
In the air to center field, moving over is Devon White for the second out.
He is a Batman, right?
Yeah, that he is, at least in June.
Right fielder, Joe Orsolak.
Yeah, why watch how far it's going? You know it's out of here. And there's the hitting instructor saying that hard work paid off.
Tom McCraw. What a great job they have done. He and Al Jackson.
Well, Tommy was with Frank in Cleveland, in San Francisco. Pretty good left-handed hitter with Cleveland, the White Sox.
Orsulak at the plate. With 2 out, bases empty. Baltimore ahead 6-5. 1-0 the count.
Orsulak, excuse me, Al, story in himself. Last year, the leading hitter the Orioles had, and this year they said, hey, let's go with the young guys. Joe said, I'm only 26. What do you mean, let's go with the young guys? Got the odd man out early in the year. And now plays against the tough lefties. And that's why he started against Jim Abbott tonight.
You guys are obviously not Batman fans.
Well, the premiere the other night, I followed that closely.
Must be a very good movie.
And Orsulak is on.
Actually, they call Traber. His nickname is the Whammer.
That would work.
He whammed that one.
Yeah, Whammer. Wham.
Craig Worthington.
Shazam.
Singer of sorts.
Yeah.
Sung the national anthem. Good 14 and under tennis player. Used to play McEnroe. Similar temperament at times.
Speaking of a
temperament.
The temperamental troika. As Latchman visits the mound. After the walk to Orsulak. Worthington at the plate. Worthington is 0 for 3. Foul territory, and back out of play. And no doubt, Jim, since you spent part of your childhood growing up in this area, he would be the second most famous C. Worthington in Southern California, would he not?
Well, I'll tell you what, opening day I called Dave Schmidt, who's the starting pitcher for the Orioles, Mike Schmidt, about a half a dozen times, and I said, before the season's over, I'm going to have this guy selling cars. There's Cal Worthington with a bunch of car dealerships.
Yep.
And you said yesterday the shortstop is Cal Ripken. It's a natural.
A little local color. Cal Worthington, I think, has had more airtime in Southern California through the years than Vanna White. Up high, ball 1, 1-1. Orsulak at first base with 2 down. 1-1 the count on Worthington, and that's Greg Minton in the bullpen. Toward the corner in left field, racing over and unable to make the play, but bouncing into the stands for a ground rule double. And that's the best thing that could have happened to the Angels right there. It prevents Orsulak from scoring had the ball remained in play and caromed away from Chile. So a double, putting runners at second and third and bringing up Bill Ripken.
Another hanging slider. We saw one last inning to Downing. He tied the game, and Worthington right here, you speed up the bat. And you can see, if he touches that ball, most likely Orsulak will score. It goes over his head. Runners at second and third. Big break. And I'm surprised that Frazier is still out there because for really the second time around, his pitches are up. Breaking balls up, and
not there very much longer. Latchman making his second trip to the mound.
Well, it's funny how the game goes. Had Willie Frazier given up these runs in the earlier innings, then it adds on to really what Jim Abbott gave up earlier in the game. But since it was tied, now the loss could be hung on Willie if the Angels don't re-obtain the lead.
Tomorrow on Good Morning America, we'll talk with Michael Caine from the set of his new movie, plus Kim Alexis with a glimpse at the new exotic look and fashion on Good Morning America tomorrow.
Check out a new Nissan Sentra, and you may be pleasantly surprised at what you'll find. A very roomy interior, an extremely reliable fuel-injected engine, and for a limited time, up to $1,000 cash back directly from Nissan. But see your Nissan dealer by July 5th or the money will be gone. Then you'll really be surprised.
Logan Pass, Montana and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Logan Pass means trailblazing, exploring the wilderness of Glacier National Park. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp Old Milwaukee beer and smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place, an Old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light.
Guys, it just doesn't get any better than this.
These days, my kids will do anything to get me to take them to Burger King for the $1.49 kids meal deal. What they don't know is for $1.49, I take them every day. Right now, kids get a flame-broiled burger, regular fries, a drink, and a surprise treat of M&M's chocolate candies. It's a real deal.
Mom, get my glitter dry.
I'm sorry, I promised that to Tommy.
The $1.49 kids meal deal, now only at Burger King.
Current Affair, tonight at 10:35 on TV9.
Greg Minton has had a long and somewhat distinguished career. At one time, the ace in the bullpen for the San Francisco Giants. Had some problems in recent years, put on some weight. Had to undergo surgery, but he's back and part of a bullpen that, for the most part, has been doing the job for the Angels.
Well, you look at this bullpen this year, you'd think that Brian Harvey would be the stopper. Minton's played that role on occasion. He's about as good as his control is. When he's got control, a good sinker and a slider, he's tough to hit. Tough to lay off the ball that just seems to plummet on the way to home plate. 12th big league year. That's been around a while.
Bill Ripken is the batter. Baltimore ahead 6-5. Orsilac is at third and Worthington at second with 2 out in the 8th inning. 1-0. Before we went to commercial, Tim talking about what amounts to the injustice of it all. Abbott starts, works 4 innings, gives up 5 runs. If Minton gets out of this inning, Frazier will have worked 3 2/3, given up 1 run, but would stand to lose the game. And it's 2-1.
Frazier pitching very well for 3 1/3 innings. 3 2/3 actually. You know, it's very unusual how Minton comes set. You've seen hitters with closed stances, as you see Willie Frazier there. Well, Minton can be described as a pitcher with a closed stance. You don't see a pitcher with his left foot that far toward third base when he comes set. Watch how he swings that left foot toward third base. Very unusual.
And it's 3-1.
Oh, again, what you talked about early, Abbott, with a control problem of flying open. It's tough to really fly open when you're that close when you go to home plate. You know, what's funny is you usually start straight. Most pitchers start straight, and invariably they end up with one leg swinging over the other one anyway. So Greg Minton just starts that way. And it also allows you to get to home plate quicker.
3-2.
And all you got to do is pick up your left leg, and you almost have it even with the rubber, which is where you're going to usually drive forward from. So a little bit quicker. He's 6'2", a little bit longer to get the ball to home plate. So in a running situation, which this isn't, you would usually give your catcher a better chance to throw somebody out. Makes sense. It is unusual, though.
You'd almost think a guy who would come set like that would be a side armor.
Yeah, you would.
But Minton pretty much comes over the top.
Well, he may throw across his body, though. You know, and again, that's a real distraction. Now, this is from a high camera. Look how closed his left leg is. Let's see where he steps, if we can. Now, he pretty much goes right towards the hitter. Well, basically, all he's doing is starting where he's going to end up about halfway through his delivery.
Three-two pitch. Wrapped foul again.
If you're wondering why Ripken is fouling off so many balls on the ground, it's really no secret. Greg Minton went 4 years from 78 to the middle of 82 or 81, I guess, without giving up a home run. 269 in the third innings without giving up a homer. He's given up only 38 home runs in over 1,000 innings of work, which is about 1 every 27 innings, which is remarkable. And you can understand why he doesn't give up too many, because that sinker is just devastating.
And Ripken fouls it away again on the ground.
A guy that came over last year, one of the many Oriole pitchers that you saw in New York, another guy that went many games without giving up a home run, Doug Sisk. Now, he had a totally different type of windup. He flew open. And by throwing that left shoulder wide open, he get the ball to sink.
I guess simply put, when the ball's going down at that rapid a rate, a hitter tends to hit the top half of the ball. There's no lift supplied by the pitcher.
So 4 foul grounders with the count 3-2. And Tim talking about the paucity of home runs yielded by Minton. He's allowed only 1 this season in 42 2/3 innings.
Seeing the end result of his windup and saw the grip with the seams. Most sinker ballers hold the ball that way. Power pitchers across the seams. You get those 4 seams working. And with first base open, Greg has basically said, as you see the grip on the ball right with the seams, you're going to either hit my sinker or you're going to walk. I'll pitch to the next guy. Can't afford to give up any more runs.
And that's hit foul. So 5 times now, Minton's had to come in 3-2. First base open here with runners at second and third and 2 down, and on deck is Devereaux. There it is through their career. 27 innings, the equivalent of 3 games, 1 every 3 games in terms of giving up a home run for Minton. Kent Jacoby. Look at the Dwight Gooden.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat. A high ball pitcher.
Really is.
It talks about how overpowering his stuff is. 2 of the most outstanding pitchers in the National League, his fastball and his curveball. That's why Scioscia's home run in the playoffs last year was so shocking.
And that's grounded back to the mound. And so with that closed stance on the mound, Minton's able to close out the Orioles here in the 8th inning, but not before they take the lead on the home run by Traber. And at the end of 7.5 in Anaheim, it's Baltimore on top again, 6-5.
What dry was. What dry is. Introducing new Michelob Dry Beer. It's brewed longer to start bold, finish clean, and refresh completely. New Michelob Dry. One taste, and you'll drink it dry.
There are a number of ways to get a safer ride, like always fasten your seat belt.
Seat belt?
And never ride on worn shocks and struts. They can allow your tires to lose contact with the road, resulting in a loss of control and braking. Get a new set of Monroe Gasmatic shocks and struts. They help your vehicle hold the road.
Hey, I feel safer already. So do I.
For a smoother, safer ride, America rides Monroe.
I'm State Farm Agent Bill Harrell. Just came from the Harrises. They like the way I keep their homeowners insurance up to date and help them with claims too. The Harrises told the Floyds told the Carvels told the Lockmans, and so on. When you deliver good service with homeowners insurance, like State Farm agents do, word gets around. That's why State Farm insures more homes than anyone else.
And like a good neighbor, State
WBC light heavyweight champ Dennis Andres takes on the undefeated and top-ranked contender Jeff Harding, plus the mini marathon on ABC's Wide World of Sports Saturday.
23,876. Some out a little late tonight at Anaheim Stadium. 6-5 in favor of the Orioles. And again, a look at the featured fight this week on ABC's Wide World of Sports from Atlantic City. Andres against Harding. Jack Howell to lead off as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Howell, Schofield, and Washington. With Mark Williamson on in relief. Throwing a fastball by Howell, and the count is 0-1. So it's Williamson's game to win. Holton started. Weston came out of the bullpen, but left with an arm injury after 2/3 of an inning as Howell hits one into left center for a base hit. The leadoff man on, and the tying run aboard for the Angels in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Shortstop, Dick Schofield.
We talked about Greg Minton with his shoulder closed. You cannot hit a ball that way the other way with your shoulder open. And Jack Howell, his first 3 times up tonight, 2 strikeouts and a ground out to second, adjusted and hit that ball well the other way. Good piece of hitting by Howell.
Schofield with 3 sacrifices this season in a situation where he may lay one down. Around the bunt, lays down a nice bunt, fielded by Traver, who misses the tag and then throws back to Bill Ripken covering for the out. So Traver, staying in the game at first base in place of Milligan, is able to throw back to Ripken to take care of Schofield as Howell advances to second.
Well, Jim yet to make an error, tries to get the easy out. And right there, sees he can't do it. Schofield out of the baseline, and the easy play to Ripken.
We mentioned back in the 7th inning also with Ken Anderson hitting, actually the 6th inning, that you wouldn't pinch hit for him, but with Schofield bunting there and Anderson on deck, or scheduled on deck with Washington up, I would expect Johnny Ray would be the pinch hitter for Anderson.
And with Claudell Washington coming up, Hickey's coming in from the bullpen, and we'll be back after this from your ABC station.
If you're a business spending over $120 a month in long-distance services, and you think that you're saving 20 to 30% with another carrier, we want you to try AT&T Pro Watts. We'll waive the installation charges, waive the change charges, and if you're not satisfied and agree that we have the best value, price, and quality, at the end of 90 days, we'll pay to put you back on your other long-distance vendor.
Save 10 to 26% or more on AT&T long distance. Call now.
Die Hard, America's most trusted replacement battery. The one over 65 million have stepped up to. Now Sears introduces the most powerful Die Hard battery ever. New Die Hard, more power when you need it most.
You've just discovered your car has a clear coat finish, which your ordinary wax just ruined. New Simonized non-abrasive wax won't scratch today's clear coat finishes, and that'll save you a lot of grief.
Kevin Hickey comes out of the bullpen to face the left-hand batting Claudell Washington. Hickey, facing left-handers this season, has limited them to a 133 batting average. So you know why he earns his keep.
And there are the overall numbers against Brett Boggs, and I'm trying to think who else. 0 for 8 as you look at the, of course, opening day. They brought him in. First and third, Boggs up, got him to hit into a double play. The Orioles broke really last year's specter of a disastrous start by winning opening day after losing 21. So,
and you saw the situation with that late inning pressure situation, which this would qualify as.
Certainly applies right here from the 7th inning on. But Al, you said something very funny. You said earning his keep. Last year, Kevin Hickey's keep was very, very cheap. He stayed in the clubhouse of the Rochester Red Wings for the full season. The manager, Johnny Oates, Ken Landreau, and Dickie Knowles all stayed in the Rochester Red Wing clubhouse last year. And Johnny Oates said the one thing as the manager, I had dibs on the sofa. The rest of the guys had to sleep in the training room. So he's earning his keep now in the big leagues.
Yep. Well, if they say a team that sleeps together, plays well together, and they won the International League
who said
last
that?
year. Johnny Oates said that.
Oh,
there he is.
Boy,
that man right there.
I thought I'd heard it all.
They brought him back.
Come on, Tim, we're out of here.
You know what they say.
Yeah, right.
They.
Oh, boy. Okay. Famous baseball sayings. Palmer just went into the Hall of Fame.
No. They said that.
Okay.
I just repeated it.
Put that in Bay's Hall of Fame.
Right. Here is Washington now with a tying run at second base. One out in the bottom of the 8th inning. Kevin Hickey takes a look back at Howell. And the pitch is shot toward Bill Ripken. He makes the play at first base. And down to third goes Howell. So the tying run advancing now 90 feet away. And with 2 down, we'll see about Kent Anderson. Here comes Robinson. Greg Olson, of course, has been their closer in the bullpen.
I would imagine that's who Frank's going to go to. He ended up pitching last night after an 8-2 lead. Johnny Oates writing down another name. And, of course, Hickey doing what he did all year. Came in and throws strikes to a left-hander as Greg Olson will appear out of the bullpen.
So exactly why he is on the roster, as opponents are now 1 for 27 in late inning pressure situations. And the rookie Greg Olson, who played his college ball with Bo Jackson at Auburn, coming in to pitch. And the Angels are going to go to their bench and send Johnny Ray to the plate. And again, we mentioned earlier that Ray had been penciled into the original starting lineup, but because of a sore toe, he tested it out before the game. Couldn't run very well. And in fact, I would suspect that if he were to somehow reach base here, you'd see a pinch runner. But he can still swing the bat.
Right now, time for a pinch reader, however. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball.
You got a problem with that? You're almost as good as Deardorff at that. In the American League, the Yankees beat Chicago 10-7, Milwaukee over Kansas City. Texas beats Boston again. Rangers go into Fenway Park and take care of the Red Sox. Minnesota knocks off Cleveland, and Toronto and Oakland are tied 2-2 in the ninth. Light schedule in the National League, where Philadelphia this afternoon beats St. Louis 11-2. The Cubs stay hot, lead Pittsburgh 4-0 in the 8th inning. And the Reds, after losing a doubleheader to the Braves last night, rebound tonight to beat Atlanta 6-1.
Greg Olson, 22 years of age, #1 draft choice last year. Pitched about, I think, 24 1/3 innings at minor league level last year. And you can see his numbers. And here's the definitive stat right here. Wow.
Speaking of #1 draft choices, the Orioles having a little problem signing their #1 this season.
You know, it's an unusual thing talking about Ben McDonald is that I think for the first time, Roland Heimlin, the general manager, went down to talk to Larry McDonald, the father. You look at the Cal Ripken and Frank Robinson deploying the outfield defense.
So Johnny Ray stands in. He excels in these types of situations, as the graphic noted. But so does Olson.
Olson, 92, 93-mile-per-hour fastball, and one of the best curveballs since Bert Blyleven.
Strike to Ray, 0-1.
Came out of Auburn University. Everybody's saying, hey, maybe one of the best curveballs, that did not really use his fastball very early in the season. Now you really don't know what to sit on. He's kind of really taken with the breaking ball early.
0-1 to Ray. He's fouled back. And the count 0-2 on the switch hitter, who is more proficient from this side of the plate, is a left-handed batter, Johnny hitting .312.
So Olson 88 on his first fastball, 91. And if you check the scouting reports, I would say they would say a Bert Blyleven type curveball. Sandy Koufax. But your only chance if it's up in the strike zone.
Breaking pitch is grounded to second. And so Olson does the job as Ray grounds out softly, and the Angels strand the tying run at third. At the end of 8, it's still Baltimore 6, California 5, and we'll return to Anaheim Stadium after this from our ABC stations.
Tuesday, the team's been renewed for another season.
We gonna win on Saturday?
You on the team?
No.
And you're not going to do anything on Saturday.
Coach!
Hey Kids, it's the first ever KCRG for Kids' Sake Parade for kids, Tuesday, July 4th. Decorate your trikes, bikes, and wagons. It's all for fun and a great way to celebrate the 4th of July. The parade begins at 10 a.m. on 1st Street in front of the Federal Building downtown. Bring your family to KCRG's for Kids' Sake Parade for kids, Tuesday, July 4th at 10 a.m. downtown Cedar Rapids.
The Ayatollah's dead. What about the hostages now? Next, Donahue.
Glenn Hoffman comes in to play second base. Johnny Ray healthy enough to hit, but not healthy enough to play second, so they can't leave him in the lineup, and it's Hoffman, the utility infielder, who takes over at second base. As we go to the 9th inning at Anaheim Stadium, the Baltimore Orioles trying to stretch their winning streak to 7, and the Angels trying to avoid going down to a 4th successive defeat. They had lost 7 straight in Kansas City and Texas on their recent road trip, went into Detroit and swept the Tigers over the weekend, but were swept by Toronto the last 3 nights and trailed by 1 here.
Very good point you brought up early, how you can build on coming from behind 5-0 as they had, tying the game up and then winning a game. But then again, in the Orioles, how destroying that may be, blowing a 5-0 lead.
On the heels of coming from behind last night in the 9th inning with a home run by Downing to tie it, squandering a chance to win it in the 10th and 11th, and only to lose it in the 14th. So it could be 2 devastating losses back-to-back for the Angels. Mike Devereaux facing Minton in the 9th inning. Looks at a strike.
When you go home, you get in your car, you say, hey, you know, we finally scored some runs and we just didn't get a good pitching performance.
On a hop. Devereaux is gone. 1 out of the 9th inning.
Left fielder, Bill Bradley.
Doug Rader behind Marcel Latchman. Rader with a stormy tenure in Texas. Things went swimmingly for him his first season, especially the early part in '83. He lasted through all of '84 and then was bounced in '85. Bill Bradley stands in, lays down a bunt, but it's foul. I remember one night we were doing a game in Texas talking to Eddie Childs, who owned the team at that time, and he talked about hiring Doug Rader. He said the thing that convinced me during the interview was when he told me he had taken calculus in college. So I said, did he pass? And he said, I never thought that. Illinois Wesleyan.
A man of many personalities, but really, I mean, it's such an, and they're so varied. It can be funny, it can be crazy, goofy, dead serious, knows baseball, though.
0-1 on Bradley.
I asked him back in April, how do you approach coming to manage a team that came off a real bad year? He said, don't even mention last year, just build. And well, they got Parrish, they got Blyleven, tried to sign Ryan, tried to sign Bruce Hurst.
1-2 the count.
I can just see all the college kids now majoring in math, right? Changing their major to Major League Managing.
That's right.
One of their
just because they've taken calculus.
1-2 pitches inside.
Yeah, but how about all the disappointed youngsters that say I'll never be a Major League manager because I'm not good in math? Couldn't even pass algebra.
Shot for a foul. Still 2-2.
I guess that parabolic blast by Traber, the difference in this game.
That
right?
is. Plenty of symmetry to that one. That was a very calculating statement.
Yeah, he's just discussing that right there.
That's where I hit it. Still 2-2 on Phil Bradley. Bradley fouls it away again. When the Angels come up in the bottom of the 9th inning, they're right where they want to be, the 3, 4, and 5 spots in the order. White, Joyner, and Downing. Full count. Just missing inside, ball 4. Bradley walks with 1 out of the 9th inning, and it will bring up Cal Ripken. 6-5 Baltimore. And he's closing in on that Vern Stevens mark as Steve Finley goes into pinch run. The rookie Finley takes over at first base for Bradley, and he'll stay in the game in the outfield.
Probably see Brady Anderson go to center and Devereaux move over to right. Another defensive change the Orioles may make, depending on whether they score a few more runs and add to the lead.
Ripken 0 for 2 with 2 walks. Looks at a strike. 0-1.
You have to be young to be a pinch runner, because rarely do you have a chance to get loose when you pinch run. There's no place you can't go run down the hall or anything like that.
You have to be young unless you're Tim McCarver pinch running for Pete Rose. And that's in the center field for a base hit. Finley will stop at second.
Yeah, but that was a gimmick.
Yeah, I would hope. In your last game, right?
Right, last game, 1980.
So runners at first and second with 1 out of the 9th inning, and Mickey Tettleton coming to the plate.
That's why a lot of people in baseball hate to see a starting pitcher go in as a pinch runner, because often they are not loose and you end up pulling a hamstring or something. That ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I never pulled a hamstring, but when I was young and bad, I got to pinch run all the time. And then when I got to be pitching pretty well, I never pinch ran. And then in the end of my career, I pinch ran in the playoffs. That was a gimmick, too. Tettleton, who only 11 home runs, 17. Tied with Bo Jackson and Deere. Off-season conditioning program.
Fouled away in the count 0-1.
Has the ability this year to hit the ball out anywhere, either from the left or the right side. Last year he had 11 home runs, 8 right-handed. That's his natural side. This year, out of his 17, 13 have come left-handed.
And it's interesting to note his batting stance too. The way he starts his swing, he cradles the bat and really uses his fingers, especially on his left hand. A lot of people think that you use the palms of your hand with which to distribute that power. But look at the fingers of Tettleton.
Runners go. The pitch is low, and the throw is high at third. As Finley steals third, it appeared that Ripken was in his wake, breaking for second, but Cal went back to first and remains there.
No, excuse me. Go ahead.
It's all right. It's not imperative for the trail runner to run because he can't get as good a jump as the lead runner.
Okay.
In this case, if you're the catcher and you see the runner breaking and the runner at first breaks, your play is to second base for the trail runner.
Number 6 for Finley, yet to be thrown out. He does reaches third easily on the high throw. Got a pretty close play with a better throw from Parrish. And you're right, Ripken, who doesn't have very good speed, does the conservative thing, goes back to first.
Well, that's the ultimate cat and mouse game with two veterans here. Ripken knowing what Parrish might be thinking, and Parrish, of course, with the experience to automatically think about throwing to get the trail runner.
And even if Ripken made it, they walked Tettleton to get to Bob Melvin. I beg your pardon, Traber's on deck.
Even worse than having to face
that's right.
Melvin.
That's exactly right. Here's Jim.
Difference in the game right now, his home run in the 8th inning. He waits on deck. 1 out, 9th inning. Baltimore ahead 6-5. Finley the runner at third. Ripken at first, held on by Joyner.
Go back to the hands. The only guy I have not seen really hold the bat in his fingertips is Kirk Gibson. Well into his palms. A very unusual batting, really grip for a hitter.
To Joyner. He goes to Schofield. Back to Joyner. 3-6-3 double play. So Minton keeps them close, and up come the Angels in the bottom of the ninth. 6-5 Orioles.
240.
211.
You? 175.
A few years ago, hardly anyone knew their cholesterol level.
215.
But now people are finding out.
182.
Many have started eating a low-fat, low-cholesterol diet, including foods like Kellogg's Common Sense Oat Bran, with more oat bran than any leading ready-to-eat cereal.
219. I gotta start living right.
Kellogg's Common Sense Oat Bran. To more and more people, it's the oat bran that makes sense.
It has been said that a good beer is like a good man. If you look beneath the surface, invariably, the best will come shining through. Smooth, never bitter Miller beer.
By that man of Miller beer, the best comes shining through.
This is it. Your day in the sun. You've got talent, experience, and equipment you can depend on. Charcoal made with premium woods to bring power and consistency to your game. Then, and only then, can you bask in the glow of victory. Kingsford Charcoal, what the pros use.
Well, the difference in the game is a home run in the 8th inning by Jim Traber. He hit for Milligan. Remaining in the game at first base as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. And here it was, what McCarver called a walk. Listen up. I'd agree.
That was a thwack.
Yeah.
A thwack, thwack.
Had that THW sound. It did.
a good sound as far as Jim Traber's concerned, and Frank Robinson.
About as good as when he sings. The guy that was in Guys and Dolls, Camelot, Oklahoma. A varied background as a professional singer.
And it's funny about a sound of a home run. The best sound is little sound.
Bottom of the ninth inning. Devon White swings at a fastball and doesn't get it. White to be followed by Joyner and Downing.
Well, one thing that Greg Olson does not do well is to deliver the ball to home plate quickly with a runner on. So White, with great capabilities of stealing, very important out for Olson, or a very important runner for the Angels. Both started and relieved at Auburn. Talking about Greg Olson, said he'd rather relieve in the big leagues.
Ripped foul into the seats behind the Angel dugout. Still 0-2.
He said you can add more to your team if you're a reliever. If you start, you only get to pitch every 4th or 5th day. And now he's in his 3rd consecutive ball game.
I think his roommate in college in Auburn, Stacy Jones, was a 3rd-round draft choice of the Orioles, right?
Yes.
So they drafted 2 of their top 3 draft choices out of the same room.
And down goes White.
Well, this is how you get a strikeout per inning. Establish your fastball and then throw Uncle Charlie. Wow. I mean, look at this ball go down. We talk about right off the table.
So Raiders, Angels down to their last 2 outs as Wally Joyner stands in. Joyner with 2 doubles. 2 for 4 tonight. 1-0. 1 home run since last September the 1st. It came here against Detroit in late April off Charles Hudson. 1-1.
It is amazing. Right here, if you look, you set an all-time record for Orioles. Look at that graphic right there. Broke the Bullet Bob Reynolds record of 9 for a rookie last night up in Seattle. But you know, Dale Murphy, 186 at bats without a home run. Eddie Murray, 125.
That's out of play. 1-2.
Eddie had one in last night's game in San Diego before last night. Yeah.
Some home run hitters trouble hitting home runs. He's a guy that never had a lot of problems hitting home runs. 586 lifetime.
And he hit number 523 in his first at bat in this stadium in 1973. Member of the Angels.
The 1-2 pitch to Wally Joyner is lifted in the air to deep left center field, but Finley has room on the track edge of it to make the catch. 2 gone, and now Brian Downing is the batter, coming up again in a 9th inning situation as he did last night, with the Angels trailing by 1, and he hit the home run to right field, which bounded off the glove of Kelly Gruber.
The first pitch that reliever left-handed David Wells threw. But again, Brian Downing, a guy that can hit a home run at 25 last year, 6 already this year, will look for a pitch. You get it in that zone, he's going to have a home run swing.
Curve for a strike.
A guy you see all the time. We talked about Dwight Gooden, high ball pitcher, yet they don't hit a lot of home runs off him. Olson has that kind of stuff. I don't know if he could sustain it into the 8th and 9th inning like Gooden can, but 2 pitches equally as good.
And the Angels down to their last strike with the count 0-2.
You can't sit on any one pitch, because he'll throw either one at any time.
Still alive.
And that wasn't a fastball and it wasn't a curve, was it?
Curveball.
Was it curveball?
Yeah. I would think Downing would have a better chance hitting his curveball and hoping he gets it on the inside part of the plate and maybe down and in where he can golf it than trying to hit his 90-plus fastball.
Yeah, but when you have two quality pitchers like that, I know from a catching standpoint, you call either one. Either one's a mistake.
0-2 with 2 out, bases empty. Bottom of the ninth in a game in which the Orioles led 5-0. The Angels rallied to tie it. It was 5-5 after 7. And Jim Traver's home run in the 8th inning is the difference.
Discussion. When in doubt, let's go out and talk about it.
That's right, and make sure.
Well, you know, it hasn't been a year of a bed of roses for Olson. Early in the year in Minnesota, bases loaded, balked in a run, and then balked in another one in successive pitches. 2 balks, 2 runs. He's shown his inexperience, which everybody felt would be shown at different times, but just great natural ability.
And Downing fouls it away again. So Olson has come in with 5 in a row, and the count remains 0-2.
He has now thrown 11 pitches, and 10 have been strikes. The time right now with the count 0-2, Downing's fouled off a couple of pitches, which means he's more aggressive, he's more anxious, and a ball just out of the strike zone might get him.
Still 0-2.
One of Al Jackson's major pet peeves, as Frank is saying, crowd him with a fastball, is use the big part of the ballpark late in the game, especially for his relief pitchers. That usually means fastballs away.
Little chopper, that's foul. And so still no balls and 2 strikes on Downing.
It's at moments like this you wish you had a walkie-talkie, or you had a helmet where it was wired. You could say, bust them in. And that's what they're talking about.
That's what Frank's talking about. No question about it there. He's talking to Johnny Oates and Al Jackson.
He likes to get his arms extended, wants the ball out over the plate, and we keep throwing them there.
He throws him a curve that's hit foul on the ground, and so it's still a ball and 2 strikes on Downing. If Robinson wants him to bust him in, why doesn't he get Melvin to just set up inside?
Apparently they don't have that sign.
Another foul. Still 1-2.
I know the manager's job's on the line, but my opinion about managing, you train them to think on their own. Train players to think on their own and be independent between the white lines. And that's why calling pitches, in my mind, is the worst thing a manager could do to a catcher and a pitcher.
2-2.
Got to give Downing a lot of credit. Olson's made some great pitches with a curveball.
Terrific at bat by Downing, no question.
And again, you got a guy in his first year, another guy who's been around 15. Should have made some outs on, or at least 1 out on some quality pitches.
To center field and deep, and racing back is Devereaux, and it's off the fence. Downing on his way to second as the tying run with a double. A tremendous at-bat indeed.
This is the 11th pitch that Olson threw Downing. And he does get this curve up just a little bit, but you just got to credit out Brian Downing. And he just misses a home run by about 4 feet. What a terrific at-bat by Brian Downing. He tied the game last night, as you said, Al, in the 9th inning, and almost ties it again tonight.
His third hit, 14 hits for the Angels and 7 for the Orioles. And yet Baltimore leads with 2 out in the 9th inning. And Chili Davis at the plate. Foul tipped in the count 0-1.
Remember what we said earlier. Frank Robinson told Chili Davis when he was managing him with San Francisco that if I manage against you, I will never give you a curveball to hit. And we're in a game situation right now.
We've got an idea of whether Frank has a series of signs with Bob Melvin just from the pitch sequence.
He started him with a fastball. The count is 0-1. And the next pitch is a fastball fouled away, and the count is 0-2.
And the interesting thing about it is Chili told me that yesterday. So you know Chili's looking dead red.
Even now?
I think so. I mean, unless you're talking about a breaking ball in the dirt, pitch out of the strike zone.
One of the reasons, and what we saw right here, you saw the great balls to strike ratio. Oriole bench.
Olsen trying to get that very elusive last strike. Fastball high, ball 1.
And that's an art, and something that Greg will no doubt learn is that that's a wasted pitch that high. About maybe a foot lower is right where Davis probably won't hit the ball, but yet he'll swing at it. Good breaking ball hitter, low fastball. He got the base hit earlier in the game on a low one, a low pitch.
To Davis. Just got a piece of it. 4 consecutive fastballs. Breaking ball is low. First one. 2-2.
And it was in the dirt. I think Olsen trying to get Chili to go after this curveball, and he was almost successful. Almost.
Throw him a breaking pitch, but not for a strike.
Right.
Not even close.
Now I'd say it'd go right back to the Powder River.
Downing, the tying run at second. And the 2-2 pitch is very high. Lance Parrish on deck.
Frank just told him to go out and change signs. Melvin's going out to change signs right now with Downing, an ex-catcher on second base.
Isn't that interesting, though, because according to Robinson, he's not going to throw him anything but a fastball anyway here.
That's right.
I mean, it would be a major shock if this was anything but a fastball.
But I'll tell you what, if you look, as we look down the Oriole bench before, there's 10 or 12 guys sitting there, they all would say, hook him, throw him a fastball. Everybody has a different thought of what they should do.
But Frank managed Chili in San Francisco, so advantage Robinson in this confrontation.
That's what you said. Teach them to think for themselves, right? So we don't really know what he's going to throw, nor does Chili.
Thrown 5 out of 6 fastballs so far.
Pitch is a fastball grounded to Ripken. And the Orioles have won 7 in a row. So Olsen finally gets that elusive last strike and last out. And Doug Rader goes back to the clubhouse, having watched his team drop their 4th straight and 11th in the last 14. Williamson wins it. Frazier is the losing pitcher, and the Orioles have now, on this 22nd night of June, already won more games on the road this season than they did all of last season. The up-to-date standings in the American League East, Baltimore's lead over New York and Toronto's still involved in their game at Oakland right now, 7.5 games in front. And the Angels, for the moment, are 4 games back in 3rd place behind Oakland and Kansas City in the American League Western Division. So the Orioles win it by a score of 6-5 to capture the first game in this 4-game series. And Traver's home run is the difference coming in the...
Okay, now I think she's ready. Pete, you can roll your stick.